What is up, everybody? Good morning. Happy Friday. Welcome to the Tom Bilyeu Show. Here with the crew, joined by everybody. We about to get into it.
Morning.
And speaking of getting into it, Trump says he needs 2 weeks to decide what to do in Iran. Victor Davis Hanson says there's a chance for a totally new Middle East. MAGA is having its own civil war and things are getting weird. A robot performs a heart transplant without needing to cut any bones. I cannot wait to talk about that one. The U.S. Supreme Court affirms Tennessee's gender-affirming care ban. Chicago's doing reparations. I can't wait to talk about that. And boys and girls, was feminism a lie? Man, do I wish Lisa was going to be here for that one. She may, depending on when we get to it, but she is not long for LA today. She is headed out. But man, I really want to talk about that with her. I think that there's probably some truth to that. All right, everybody, welcome. It's good to have you. Yes, Adam, we'll get to it. But first, I think we got to talk about the Middle East. Drew, it continues to be crazy.
Hey, and it seems like Trump bought his time. There's been recent reports that he'll make a decision in the next 2 weeks on whether he wants to actually make that bomb drop. Apparently, and this is from a Guardian article, he's apprehensive about the surety of this bunker buster bomb that everybody's talking about. A few days ago, everybody was so sure, okay, he drops one bomb to make a hole, second bomb to go inside, mountain goes down, nuclear facility's done, bingo, bongo. However, according to the Guardian article, after recent reports, he had a conversation with his generals, and he wasn't completely sold that that is actually an effective strategy.
Smart. Oh man.
Give it to me.
Well, so Trump is for sure. When I watch him engage with the world, I am constantly given the heebie-jeebies. The way that he talks to people really does freak me out. Like even just the way he's talking about the Fed chair, Jerome Powell, and I don't think anybody's confused about my stance on the Fed. But he'll do this thing where he's like, I love him, but he's the biggest moron that's ever lived. And it's like, what are you doing? However, he actually does show restraint. His willingness to talk to anybody from North Korea to Iran, I appreciate that because you're at least leaving on the table the potential for another possibility to arise. Mm-hmm. And so I am glad that he's not just like people say, hey, like this bomb's going to be great. Go do your thing. And like you said, according to the Guardian article, they were telling him straight up, this is going to work. Mm-hmm. You drop one or two of these, dunzo, guaranteed, all's well. And he's saying, yeah, I'm not so sure. So I don't know if it's the way people are answering, if he actually understands the overall picture of how this stuff works, and he has reason to question it. But the fact that he doesn't just take the information that he's given and go, okay, they know better. And I mean, the whole idea here is to map cause and effect. Experts will try to tell you this is how things are, and that's exactly how experts control you. Mm. And that doesn't mean that if you're overly confident in yourself that you don't create your own blind spot, which I certainly think Trump is prone to do. But I am glad that he doesn't just take people's word for it, that he's actually trying to, the lore of Trump goes that he will speak to anybody and everybody that he can get his hands on, that he will try to figure out all the different angles on a problem, to actually try to figure out what the truth is. Now, I could be overly generous in my map of him. That's entirely possible. But obviously, I'm so pro that strategy, and I think that's the only way to really figure something out is you absolutely must try to build an understanding of it yourself. And if you don't understand it yourself, then there is guaranteed to be huge blind spots. There are blind spots even when you're like, no, I can walk you through the cause and effect from beginning to end. I guarantee you still have a blind spot. So when you don't even understand it, then you're really going to be in trouble. And so this is almost certainly, if I can be really cruel to George W. Bush for a second, I don't think he had the intellectual horsepower to avoid being manipulated. And I think people just manipulated him. They positioned things and got him to believe, yeah, oh my God, we have to go in. And obviously that played out horrifically. And so Trump, for all of his foibles, at least is like, he's going to do what he believes is right. He may be wrong. He may be foolish. He may be taking us on a suicide mission. But at a minimum, I'm like, okay, this is not a guy who's going to be like, I don't really understand, so I'm just going to do what they say. Oh, God. That's not him. So, and it's been interesting to track my own internal state to be like, oh, I prefer being in that position. As I have engaged more deeply with politics, and honestly, as I've gotten deeper in the world and seen how easy people are to manipulate, I have a wild distrust for experts, what we call the deep state, like a really ferocious distrust. Most of them are dumb, and you really should just attribute incompetence rather than malice. But just enough of them are really smart and fucking sinister. And then the reality is people want to stay in power. Yeah. And the more that I map the world like that, the more I'm just terrified at how good it is at predicting outcomes.
Yeah. It seems like this is a measure twice, cut once type situation.
For Trump, from his perspective.
Yeah, from his perspective, is the sense that this is not guaranteed. And Kyle Temple hit it in the chat. They don't want Iran to have any leftover parts from the bomb that may be stuck in that hole. If they don't work like intended, the Iranians would be able to dig it out and reverse engineer it. So that was some of the speculation that if they do drop a bomb, it might not decimate the facility. It might just bury it under rocks, which days, months, years, you can just take all the rocks away, then you're back to the problem that we have right now. So I think he's looking for a more permanent solution. It doesn't seem like there will be one unless it then goes to boots on the ground. So if the option was...
Why do you say that?
Because I'm looking at it, the option is I can bomb you, but it might just be buried, or I can guarantee that it's completely eliminated and I get somebody closer, or it's a different statistical or tactical approach. If those were the two options, do you think he still takes it, or do you think...
No way. If he fucking puts a boot on the ground, that is political suicide. This is not, and it's political suicide for the MAGA movement, full stop, dead, it's done. And his legacy is done. I cannot fathom a universe in which he would do that.
Gotcha.
Now, will he support, cajole, push the Israelis to do it if he felt like that's what needed to be done? Maybe. And I think the people that I am very interested to continue to do my deep dive every time on why people have the view of Israel that they have as like these super grand puppet masters that can get anybody to do anything. I do not fucking buy that. That does not gel with what I know about humans and human nature. It certainly does not gel with what I've seen from Trump. So I really want to go into that, but I want to go into that. But in terms of what I think Trump is actually going to do, I think Trump is going to... I could see him dropping bombs. I cannot see him putting boots on the ground. There's no universe. There's just no universe.
But then are we in the same position, though? Because we don't necessarily have that quote-unquote guarantee that the facility will be eliminated. And the whole point in attacking Iran is to eliminate their nuclear program?
It is. But if I walk through the scenarios of what could go wrong, what's politically dangerous, what's dangerous in terms of for the whole world, you can claim a victory if you bury it. And you say, listen, I don't think we destroyed the whole facility, but we showed the world that we're not here to fuck around. And... it's going to take them 7 to 10 years to unbury that, get it going again. Israel's going to continue to pound their defenses. Like we have blasted these guys back from the Stone Age. And when you are thinking from a political standpoint, if you bought yourself 5 to 7 years, that's the same as forever.
You're kicking the next president's problem.
You'll get to the other side of the election. You'll be able to say, look, we did that. I mean, just look at how much he milked killing Soleimani. So Trump is, if I'm on Trump's, like, we got to pass the baton, like, advisory committee, and it's like, okay, we're going to pass it to somebody else, whether it's
like regime
Vance or anybody. No. Here in America.
Gotcha.
If we're trying to make sure, hey, MAGA stays together, but we've really got to have some killer messaging, it's going to go something like this. Nobody pushes America around. I tried to negotiate with these guys. They wouldn't go for it. There was no way for us to guarantee that like it was just done forever. But he's 84 years old. We dropped the bomb. We buried that fucking thing. There was no way I was going to risk American servicemen. Fuck that. We cleared our bases so that there was nothing for them to hit. They could try, but every time they launch a rocket, we're going to go in and just further with our with the Israelis, we're gonna keep bombarding. Every time they launch a rocket, we destroy another rocket launcher. These guys know who's the fucking boss. Now, if you can't see Trump saying shit like that, you're out of your mind. That's exactly how he would message this. That gets you to the election. And if he can economically get the Abraham Accords moving again, with now Iran they're not out, but they're standing 8 count. It's like oh God, like it's going to take them years and years and years to build back up. He's going to make hints that, maybe the Iranian people will rise up and push back against their own government, which maybe they will. And so it will be rocky. Don't get me wrong. It'll be rocky until the next big thing happens. But dude, think how terribly, terribly this live would do if the headline and thumbnail were about tariffs. No one gives a fuck about tariffs anymore. Like, we move on so fast. So it would just take another news cycle. They'll be out of this. The only thing that fucks him up is if he puts boots on the ground.
So Hrishikesh Rao had an interesting question. Tom, what do you think is the end game? A, no nukes. B, regime change. C, both. Or D, stop and negotiate.
It depends on who you're asking. So what Trump wants is for everybody to know that he's the boss. He wants to keep Americans safe. I really do think Trump wants to keep Americans safe, but his impulses are such that you do it through force. So you don't go put boots on the ground. I really do think he's anathema to that. But it is. We're gonna show that we're fucking strong. Military parades, marches, couple bombs here and there. Like, that's how he's gonna rock this. So from his perspective, that's what it's about. From Israel's perspective, it really is, guys, read the book, Rise Early and Kill First.
Rise early and kill first.
Yeah, it is. Let's see how fast, if I can pull up the screenshot here. It is an unbelievably direct look at how Israel views the world.
Ronan Burgum.
That all sounds right. Rise and kill first. Sorry. I didn't say to start talking. I don't know what camera I need to show.
I got to pull it up on the screen.
There it is. So rise and kill first. And it basically, there's a Bible verse that tells you a lot about how Israel thinks about this, which is, if a man is coming to kill you, rise early and kill him first. And I'm not going to lie, man, that's gangster. Like, that's my kind of shit. Like, if you are rolling up to fuck with my family, I'm not going to sleep through that. Yeah. Now, this gets to, do you view Israelis as like these super genius, evil puppet masters who control the whole world? If you do, then I sound like a lunatic, and we're going to get the Zionist comments in the chat here in a second. If, on the other hand, you see them as like these people who realized, oh, we're going to have to build a fucking state. No one is ever going to fuck with me again. Mm-hmm. And I get it. You become the monster that you fight. Now, I don't deny that at all. What they're doing in Palestine is fucking grotesque. But the idea that they're going to get strong. They're 10 million people, dude, and they're taking on a country that's almost 10 times their size. Like, they are fucking unbelievably, from a military standpoint, they are not to be trifled with. So from their perspective, it's like, I'm not going to live in a world anymore where people are constantly trying to fuck with me. But I actually believe that Israel is perfectly happy to, they're going to be strong for a very long time until they've been strong and safe for so long, call it 70, 80 years. And then the kids will have forgotten what it meant. They'll get weak, and then people will attack again. But anyway, in that intervening period, I think they're perfectly happy. Let everybody do them. And if you're not fucking with them, they're not going to fuck with you. Mm-hmm. So I think that's their thinking, is this is the head of the octopus, fucking decapitate it, and now we're good. From the American people's perspective, I think it's, do not kill another one of my sons, period, end of story. And so I think that we just would have zero tolerance for.
Another thing that they called out was, you say you don't trust experts, but then on the other side, you seem to think that you can map Trump's thinking, and therefore you trust him in a different way, maybe because you trust your own perception of him and what he's doing. So how do you reconcile those two?
Great question.
It is a great question that, boy, do I feel like I've addressed this a gazillion times. Okay,
chat.
so
Every
here, boys and girls, you cannot be paralyzed. You cannot go, the world is too complicated and I cannot think through this. This is exactly how people hand themselves over to experts and get manipulated. You are going to think through the world imperfectly. You are going to have to constantly say, I think this is what's going to happen, and then something different happens and you update your thinking. Don't spend a ton of time crying about, oh, I wasn't right there, and then you think that that means that you'll never be right again in the future. That's what pundits are going to want you to think. That we see these kinds of collisions all the time where people will go, I'm not going to believe what you're saying now because you were wrong about this thing. That's fucking retarded. The person is, hopefully, if they're in good faith and have any intellect whatsoever, the fact that they were wrong, if they don't care about being wrong and they only care about, what that tells them about cause and effect, they're now like, well, now I'm smarter about cause and effect. I've learned this lesson. If people are explaining to you what their base assumptions are and you track the base assumptions and you don't have beef with the base assumptions, then it's like, okay, they're on solid footing with the base assumptions. I like all of those. Maybe I draw different conclusions about what that means in the future or whatever. So I'm doing my best to map Trump's thinking. If anybody thinks I think that I can't map my own thinking perfectly, nobody can, PS, by the way. So I know I can't map Trump's thinking perfectly. Now, the one thing that I really, really like, if people are going to quote unquote learn anything from me, it would be that I have become extremely successful by not trusting myself. That's got to be a familiar refrain. I've said that so many times. So you are going to hear me talk very aggressively about something when I feel I have mapped it correctly. But remember, I'm looking up at the night sky, which is just a fucking chaos of stars. I draw a picture that we call constellations because they help me navigate the world. But I know, even when I'm talking with like, the world is like this, even when I'm doing that, I know that I'm wrong in some way that I just cannot see yet. But the driving base assumption in my life is the only catastrophic mistake is being paralyzed by indecision. It is far better to run 100 miles an hour in the wrong direction, because you will learn, than it is to stand still. And the vast majority of humanity stands still. Okay, I could keep going about why I build my life like that, but that is eternally present in my mind. But I understand when I start speaking like, it's the constellation Sagittarius, it really is there, that people start going, oh my God, like he's completely abandoned all of his principles. No, it's that it is a cluster of principles that lead to me taking action and moving forward in my life. And whether that's simply saying, this is how I think this should play out, or this is how I think this is going to play out. But I know there is something I can't see, even if it is just the complexity of how things will play out. I'll give you one random thing. I read this tiny little article that said that there is a volcano off the coast of the US West Coast that they think is going to erupt. This is underwater, that is going to erupt, and there will be 10,000 earthquakes in a single day. Now, maybe that ends up being nothing. Maybe it ends up causing a tsunami. So it's entirely possible that something so catastrophic happens to the West Coast in the next 3 months that none of this is relevant. And yeah, I get it. Like, the future is unknowable, but that has not been an effective way to approach my life. The only effective way to approach my life is to say, I have to figure out how to take action. To take action, I have to map cause and effect. To get good at mapping cause and effect, you need to say out loud what you thought to be true, so that you can hold yourself accountable in the future to look back and go, how much of that did I get right? How much did I get wrong? And the things that I'm saying, what base assumptions are they based on? So when you look back, you go, it was this base assumption. I had built that base assumption around whatever thing. And then hopefully you're a little bit wiser in the future.
I love that. Ipso facto. Okay, I want to set some like lines in the sand for a second. So yes or no questions. Let's call this like a lightning round. It seems you're...
Okay, hold on. Sorry, really fast. So Justo Munoz says, in all caps, Tom always goes to cause and effect when he wants to avoid a question. So I will always answer a question, knowing this is going to get clipped out and people will not grab the context of me saying, hey, I'm way out over my skis here. I don't really understand this, but I'm going to give an answer because I hate when people dodge answers. So that criticism I will not abide. There is not a question. People can ask me any fucking thing they want, and I will give you my answer as of right now today. And I do that so I can map my own thinking. So anyway, I'm happy to drill in if he thinks there's a question that I have not answered. I'm happy to fucking just say the thing. But
I want to address Billy John, so I just want to kind of make some lines in the sand real quick.
Mm-hmm.
If just to lightning round it, boots on the ground, hard no for you.
yes.
No boots on the ground. No matter.
Hard no from what I want in the universe, and I'm telling you, hard no, Trump is not going to do that.
Happy. And I know you're. How do you feel about supporting the war, whether it's financially, giving bombs to Israel,
Helping Israel?
Yeah.
It depends on what they do, so there's no blank check that I will ever write, but the way that they're handling it now, yeah, I'm for it.
Copy. Okay.
Because I have a base assumption that Iran will continue to push for a nuclear weapon, that they would use it, and that if they get one, it will cause a proliferation of nuclear weapons across the Middle East, and that is bad mojo. When you have people who sincerely believe, if my kids die, things will be better for them, that this earth means nothing, and the only thing that matters is the next life, nope, can't have that. Because that, and they have shown in 1979, I think it was, they were using kids to walk across minefields so that they could clear the mines. Bro, when that's what you do to your own kids, because they believe, like when they die, that it's going to be better for them in the afterlife. That's crazy to me. Like legitimately can't have that. Nope, hard pass. That is a value system that leads to seriously fucked up things. But people are from where I'm sitting. I have a frame of reference that is violently opposed to doing that.
Yeah.
And for that reason, yes.
Last one. Do you believe Israel should be held accountable for how they're approaching, let's call it war? And I'm using that generic term just so I can see if you have if you are critical of Israel, or if you are on the side of they're small and mighty, let them do whatever they want.
I think what they're doing in Palestine is obviously ethnic cleansing. And yes, I mean, I don't held accountable in what way? People talk big language about putting people in The Hague and shit like that. I don't know, man. Maybe. That's very possible. I haven't thought through that enough to know what I would stand 10 toes down on, but they are ethnically cleansing Gaza for sure.
Copy. Okay. I was with you with it. And then I listened to Victor Davis Hanson's take. I like how he broke down not just where Iran is, but everybody around Iran. And then once you look at that like holistic view of the Middle East, it kind of changed my frame a little bit.
In terms of maybe it's worth it?
But I was bunker buster, get in, get out. Like, America, we spend so much money on defense. We got all these bombs. We have the most, like...
Let's use a few?
What are we talking about? Let's get it out the way. Wrap it up in 3 weeks. Trump is going to tweet something crazy about San Francisco and everybody will forget again. Like, I was very much, let's kind of speed run this war. And then I was like, okay, but wait, we are spending $1 billion. We are in debt. Maybe we shouldn't. So I was kind of on that fence. And then I'm going to play the clip right now from Victor Davis where he kind of just lines out what's the map of the Middle East and why this may be the opportune time to do it.
Let's go.
Time in the Middle East. Never in our lifetime. Hello, this is Victor Davis Hanson for the Daily Signal. We are at a historic time in the Middle East. Never in our lifetimes have we been closer to a complete revolutionary fervor that gives promise of normalcy for the Middle East, and never have we been in more danger of seeing the entire region blow up. What am I referring to? And that is the war right now between Iran and Israel. It is surreal. If we had this conversation 5 years ago, and I said to you, the Iranian nation that is huge compared to Israel, 10 times the population, the Iranian nation has lost all control of the Houthi terrorists, and they are themselves neutered. Their surrogates in the West Bank, Gaza, are neutered. They're gone as Hamas as a fighting force. The formidable, the terrifying Hezbollah cadres, they're inert. There is no more Syria, the Assad dynasty, the pro-Iranian Syria. It's in chaos, but whatever the chaos is, seems to be anti-Iranian. There is no Shia crescent, starting with Tehran all the way to the Mediterranean. Lebanon is free of Iranian influence. So is Syria. Gaza de facto will be. There is no Russian presence. It's not a patron. It's not a protector. It's not a power in the Middle East. It's tied down in Ukraine. And Iran itself, the formidable powerhouse of the Middle East that evoked terror all over, has no defenses. And now we've seen 5 days of war in which the Israelis have systematically dismantled all of the Iranian missile defenses. They have air defenses. They have dismantled the terrorist hierarchy. They have dismantled the people who are responsible for the nuclear program. And we're down to a single critical issue. They have suffered.
So I love how he started it, talking about Syria, Lebanon, and all these other countries, because that's why we're so critical of Iran, because Iran was acting like, hey guys, I'm just trying to be a good country and be good, but there was all these terror cells under, like, hidden within it. They were using surrogates in other countries to kind of create havoc. This seems like, if you listen to Victor Davis Hanson, the weakest these insurgency has been in the Middle East, so now might be the time to strike. But at the same time, I could just be Dick Cheney. And
I can't track what you are hearing from Victor Davis Hanson. As far as I can tell, Victor Davis Hanson is saying this could be amazing. It could blow up, but this could be amazing. I get why Israel's doing what they're doing right now in this moment. We've never had a moment like this before, certainly not in any of our lifetimes. And oh my God, is it possible that we actually get peace in the Middle East? That's what I hear him saying. So when you say that you've backed off of wanting to speed run the war based on what he said.
No. It's one of those things where I'm now conflicted, because it's like, I was talking shit, speed running the war, because then I actually thought about, like, okay, wait, wars cost money, boats on the ground. Like, although we will drop a bomb, there's still going to be people, like kids that are going to have to get shipped out over there, people that are going to be waiting in boats just in case something bad happens. So I know that although boots might not be on the ground, they're going to be in the air next to it. Right. They're going to be on the ground 3 blocks to the east. So there's people still going to be impacted by this. And even after the pullout of Afghanistan, we lost, I want to say, like 5,000 soldiers or something like that, just from civilian casualties, friendly fire. So there's always
our own soldiers?
Yeah, there's always like a collateral damage in like that pullback.
Not, do you mean Afghanistan?
Or like when we were leaving Afghanistan and Iraq?
We lost like 13 soldiers, I think. So we definitely haven't lost 5,000.
No, I'm saying from the time Obama was like, the war is over, we're done, to when we actually had the last person get in the plane and like fly away, there was already a lot of casualties, even though we weren't, quote unquote, in an active war.
Right.
So I think there's no boots on the ground. Although we're talking about it as if everybody's going to stay in America and we'll just send a bomb over, there's still people that have to be engaged in there. I say all that to say, it seems like this is an opportune time for us to take out Iran, and we have the plan with the bomb. Why do you think there is that hesitation now from Trump? Or if you tried to map it, why do you think we didn't just strike while the iron's hot and just kind of, quote unquote, get it over with?
Because this shit is so complicated. Like, if you are not hesitant, you are a fool. Like, the fact that Israel waited as long as they did for the moment to strike now, I think is very wise, and they needed to do that. Where it gets complicated is, was Netanyahu and the Israeli government trying to bait Iran to attack them through proxies so that they had a reason to go the way that they're going now? We will find that out in the fullness of time. I would not be surprised at all. And this is part of the problem of really looking under the hood of war and international politics and the way that man as political animal is. Man as political animal is amoral. And that is super distressing to me. But it is the world we live in. So it's like, oh, God. I have a feeling that's what we're going to see over time. And at the same time, you've got the Iranian regime that's using their own children to clear minds. So it's, what do you do? There's no like, we're the good guys. Like, again, I will bring everybody back to the absolutely gut-wrenching realization that I had looking at the Civil War, that Lincoln, who I still revere because I need fucking heroes to believe in, but Lincoln said, oh, if I could keep the Union together without freeing a single slave, I would do it. Like, that's so traumatizing to me. So I just realized that, okay, yeah, this is amoral, up, down, left, right. Because that's just how people are. To get elected, you have to control the narrative. It's very messy. Anyway, being thoughtful is smart. Trying to map out all the different consequences is smart. That's certainly what he's messaging. I don't see any reason to believe that that's not what he's doing. He wants to have a sense of, okay, if we hit this and it fails, like what happens? They're going to strike our bases. How many ballistic missile launchers do they have that we would need to take out? Because if we drop something on Fordo and we ourselves are flying the plane, they're going to attack our bases. So have we cleared them? Do we have the ability to defend them? Are there other things that we have to do? I can pretty much guarantee that he's got people in his ear being like, listen, we're going to do these 4 things and there's going to be a natural uprising in the country. But we need something like the bunker buster bomb to trigger that. And so then he's like, God, do I really believe that that's going to happen? So he's said publicly that I want to delay the decision until the absolute last minute, meaning of all things. Like if I've got a decision to make and I know that I have to make it by noon on the 27th, I'm going to wait till 11:57 to make my decision. And to be honest, this is a conversation that I've had with my wife a gazillion times, because she will go after something right then in the moment. It's on her mind. And I'm like, that was the worst fucking time to address that thing. Like, you know, you have 2 weeks to deal with it. Wait for that opportunity to present itself. You never know what might happen. The fucking supreme leader could have a stroke. And if you had just waited, like, you know, whatever. So when you have time and you give yourself the ability to, one, map all of the different things that could happen, and then two, just buy time for an opportunity to present itself, I think you're in a much better situation. So that's my gut, is what he's doing.
Yeah.
Why does that Lincoln esoteric dichotomy wants to know why that quote affects me? What the fuck? Because I thought he was doing it as a moral thing. My whole life, I was raised to believe that that was somebody I could look up to, because he literally paid with his life to free slaves. That is a way cooler story than he was just a really deft politician who was like, I just got to keep this union together. I'm not saying that keeping the union together wasn't a worthy thing to do, but it is a very different thing to do than to say, I'm going to fuck these people up because they're enslaving other human beings. Map me how you want, but that is, to me, that's dope. That's noble. I could see asking somebody to die for that. I cannot see asking somebody to die for, I don't give a shit about the slaves. Let them keep being enslaved. But like, fuck, man, it's economically way cooler to have this country as a whole. Nope. It doesn't ring the same. And that's exactly why he did the Emancipation Proclamation, because he knew people like me would be like, oh, I can only fight for the North now because I cannot be here for people being enslaved. Literally, look this up. It's exactly what was happening. Europe was going to try to fuck us up, pick us apart, funding both sides so that we would break into hopefully more than two factions, which is almost certainly what would have happened. Excuse me. And he was like, oh, shit. And hey, kudos, man, from a strategy perspective, absolutely brilliant. Goes, I'm going to do the Emancipation Proclamation because Europe beat us to freeing their slaves. So there's no way, if this is about abolishing slavery versus the people that want to keep people enslaved, they will stop funding the South. And that's exactly what happened. And you guys know the punchline. The North ends up winning. But like, if those don't feel different to you, we are different.
Mentally Dope is saying war is business and America is about business. It's high ticket chess. Is there some truth to that? And how would that relate back to what you said the other day about how war can help with the deficit?
You never heard me say the words war can help with the deficit. It's a super dangerous game, but from because you print. But okay. The world is so complicated. The second you go to talk about it, you oversimplify it. I'm going to do it all the time. It's the only way to have a conversation and begin building your values-based, belief-based, outcome-based rationale for how you move forward in your life. Saying that it's high-ticket poker, is that what you call it? Chess? High-ticket chess?
High-ticket chess.
Yes.
Which is a very cool phrase, is true, but that's not the total summation of it. So another thing that you have to consider, the next 20 years in the West are going to be about, are we going to push back on Muslim ideology? Boy, do I hate saying that out loud, but that just really is true. And so given that, there's all of that hiding in the background. There is beliefs about Iran is evil. There are people that hold that belief. Okay, if you believe that Iran is evil, do you believe that you have a moral obligation to take them out? That's in play. So money, going back to money is almost always a great place to start, because boy, oh boy, can people be influenced by money at every level of society. It just isn't going to be the sum total of the picture.
We get a super chat.
Let's go.
Super chat.
Yeah. Super chat.
CHD. Hey, Tom, when are you going to have Rolio Tomasi from The Rational Mail and Michael Sartain to talk about dating, intersexual dynamics, and evolutionary psychology?
Probably not going to. If the community gets really into that and like it popped, then we would. It's in our bucket of things to talk about, but it is low in the buckets. So we do cover, that falls into what we call culture. And we're actually going to be talking about some of that today. But also I am moving away from interviews. So right now I'm sort of the sole man carrying the torch in the company. But I don't think interviews are the thing that I am best at this point in the nature of YouTube and podcasting, which is very complicated behind the scenes, data-driven game. That isn't where we're getting the big wins. Where we're getting the big wins is the deep dives, the tight 60s, and the lives. Those show, just from a data perspective, they have all of our momentum. The interviews do not. So anyway, I won't derail us on that, but there it is.
Copy that. Okay, I need to quickly change position, but I'm addressing a very angry comment.
Let's go.
I don't think you support the U.S. supporting Israel, but is there a monetary cap on that? Because there was a time where like, hey, we're just going to find some terrorists. We'll be in Afghanistan 6 weeks tops. Cut to 20 years later, $8 trillion, things like that. Like,
Yep.
Is there a limit where it's like, all right, guys, like you guys kind of have to wrap it up? Or do you think, I just don't want us to say we support Israel. It becomes a forever war, and forever war is code for we are now funding this thing for the next 10 years.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I don't support us funding the war. That is for sure. And I don't think Israel is asking for that. I would need to look more deeply into the exact mechanics of the exchange, but it goes something like this. We give them, I don't know, like $3 billion a year or something in aid, and they in turn buy weapons with it. So you'll see this in entrepreneurship where people say, hey, I want you to invest in my company, but every dollar that you invest in my company, I'm going to spend on advertising with you. So really, what I'm doing is exchanging free advertising for equity in your company. And so it can be a good deal if you really believe in the company and you really believe in the product. So it will be stuff like that. But no, the US should not be writing blank checks. I literally just said like 7 minutes ago, I don't do blank checks. There's no blank checks. There's no just like, hey, go do whatever you want for as long as you want. It really comes down to how people feel about, you've got the parliament of Iran chanting death to America. Hey, no big deal. They can't attack America. Got it. Well, except for the fact that they have 2 programs running. They have a ballistic missile program that cannot yet reach America but it certainly can reach our bases. And by the way, you only need 3% enriched or 3.7, whatever, percent enriched uranium. Dude, they're north of 60. This is not like, oh shit, we overshot. Like, sorry, we were just trying to get to 9. Dude, they're like, some people say that they have 87% enriched uranium. Sheesh. I won't even ask you to believe that, which by the way, you only need 90% to have a nuclear weapon. I won't even ask you to believe that. But I don't think anybody argues that they're north of 60. So it's like, what do you think they're doing? They are building nuclear weapons. Now, are they just trying to get a nuclear deterrent so that they can be like, hey, listen, look at the uranium. Now you know we can do it. Everybody back the fuck up. But this comes down to what people believe about that base assumption. If you're like, I'm cool with a nuclear armed Iran, because, Drew, they would never continue developing ballistic missiles and be able to reach other places, even though in the fucking parliament, they're chanting death to America. I don't know why people don't find that distressing.
I have it pulled up right here.
This is their parliament, kids.
For those
this is their parliament.
For those listening, they're chanting death to America, and they're lighting an American flag printout.
Bro, these are cats in suits. This is not like some wacky, like...
Somebody standing on a Waymo?
Yeah, like this is parliament. So anyway,
crazy.
Look, we could overstep this. There's no doubt. And in overstepping it, we would have acted foolishly, obviously.
Yeah.
So this needs to be well thought out. We should not be rushing in to drop bombs, but this should be well thought out. Run the thought experiment. Do we want peace in the Middle East?
Yes.
Do we want trade with the Middle East?
Yes.
Do we want to see the Middle East, every country, because many of them already do, but every country to think what is good for my kids and my kids' kids here on earth right now today economically? Do we want to see them educating their children, boys and girls? Do we want to see them build beautiful, incredible things through internal cooperation and external cooperation should they find themselves so inclined? I hope everybody says yes, but those are Western values. That's me 100% painting my value system onto other people. If they don't want that, and they think that America represents an existential threat to their way of life, and therefore they are going to nuclear arm, now it comes down to you have to deter that. That's how I map it. And so I'm like, look, I'd love to stay the fuck out of Iran. I'd love to never have to think about them or to think of them as an ally and to have nothing but love for them. Literally, that would be amazing. And I, like I think most people, really want to believe that the people of Iran want that. But man, I look at history and I see when people think God told them to do a thing, people will do that fucking thing. And I'm telling you, the next 20 years, you're going to see a whole lot of videos of Muslims in America saying things like, and I can show you videos right now, saying things like, hey, remember when Christians came to the Muslim world and started building churches and tried to take over? No, we're going to do the same thing here. You're going to be in a values battle, boys and girls. So brace yourself for that. So anyway, that's where I'm at today. My thinking is always willing to be updated. I'm here for it. But
you talked about the elephant in the room that we've been ignoring, and that is religion. Dang, Joshua Jones, I just saw your comment. He's talking about BlackRock buying up all the single family houses. You know that's close to my heart, Josh, but we're talking about Iran right now, but we'll come back to that.
Tom giving fascist vibes. So interesting.
Okay, so the that's not the right link.
Can I really fast? I have to do this because otherwise this is really going to bother me. Okay, chat. I have a very simple question for you. Bye, Billy. Somebody breaks into your house with ill intent. Can you shoot them in the face? Or should you flee?
Shoot them in, oh, is that like, I thought you were going to keep, that's just the question.
Yeah.
We need to figure out polls. Should you, if
So
somebody
Amelie says no. Amelie is, do I read that as flee? Yeah, we should do a poll. That is for sure. I'm so curious because I am going to seem fascist, I guess, to anybody that thinks that if you break into my house and I shoot you in the face that I'm fascist. Okay, then it becomes, well, Tom, you're talking about dropping a bomb in Iran. You're going into their fucking house to drop a bomb. Yes, now we have a debate for sure. I want to I want to understand people's belief system so that we're going to build brick by brick, Matt. I understand those two things aren't comparable. I understand. I'm trying to get to the foundation upon which you build. And then we see where the breaking point is. Then we see where we disagree. Because the next question, in terms of orienting to what people believe is, do you worry about Iran having nuclear capabilities? And Amelie, I think I'm pretty calm right now. Don't feel reactive, but I do feel like whatever the hardest thing to discuss is the thing to discuss. This feels like the hardest. So do you believe that a nuclear-armed Iran is just made the world better or worse? Now, if we believe that it makes the world worse, we share that belief. Now, dropping a bomb becomes a question of beliefs and values. The belief in what good would it do? Maybe it leads to all hell breaking loose. And that's why I think Victor Davis Hanson is such an important voice. You can tell he's excited. You can tell he wants that, what he calls a revolutionary new Middle East, meaning that there's peace in the Middle East for the first time in God knows how long. But he knows that this could all go wrong. And this could all go wrong. And we have to be unbelievably careful about how we move forward. There's no doubt about that. But if you believe that Iran getting nuclear armed is dangerous, which is what I believe, then you start asking, okay, well, if you believe that that's worse for the world, it's worse for the Middle East, it's worse for the globe because it will lead to nuclear proliferation. I believe it was Saudi Arabia that said we do not want Iran to get nuclear weapons, but if they do, we will race to get our own. Okay? You can imagine there's going to be a knock-on effect. There's going to be a whole bunch of people that do that. Now, I get it if people don't want any country in the world to have nuclear weapons. That makes two of us. Boy, do I wish they'd never been invented. But the reality is that they have. And so we live in that world. All right. I'm going to pause there.
I'm ready to talk about religion.
I just laid a whole bunch of things down. We ran a poll, or the poll is running. Mm-hmm. We should recap. I want to make sure that chat feels heard. So if there is a consensus, let's present that. And then if there are dissenting arguments that sound like useful, let's go.
So a lot of people asking for context because I added that as an option. It's about 15%, but 83% are saying yes. If someone breaks in, you can and probably should shoot them.
Praise the Lord. Okay, perfect. Okay, from that perspective, from a value system perspective, most of us have the same foundational brick. Now, again, I think it is very right that that is not the same as what we're talking about in Iran. That was me asking because people were saying that I sound like a fascist. So I want to know where they think I start sounding like a fascist. If they think I'm fascist because if you break into my house, I am shooting you in the fucking face, even if that means I go to prison, then okay, now I know where their beef is. If that isn't, and it doesn't seem, at least for most people, like that's where the breaking point, then the breaking point becomes, let's start laying down value system, belief system bricks about Iran specifically so we can take this from abstract to specific. So the next question becomes, do people believe the world gets better or worse if Iran has a nuclear weapon? And then if they think that the world gets worse if Iran gets a nuclear weapon, the question is, what do you do about it? The question I would encourage everybody to ask themselves is, if Iran gets a nuclear weapon, do you think they will continue to develop their ballistic capabilities such that they could reach America? Now, it's my understanding that they've already stated that they would do that. Now, maybe I'm wrong about that. I admittedly would not be able to tell you who said that. So it's one of those, like I've heard in articles or somebody's tweet or whatever. So I don't believe strongly in that, that it has been said. I do currently map them, given the flag burning and the Death to America chants and all that, that they would. So the hard thing that all of us have to ask ourselves is, eventually your beliefs and values become a thing that you do. Now that thing that you do may be sitting and waiting. Mm-hmm. And some people, and hey, I am very open to hearing their best argument. Some people are going to say, don't be preemptive. You have to wait until they launch a nuke at us. And if they launch a nuke, then you strike back, but you don't do anything till then. Or they may say, okay, listen, you don't wait till they launch the nuke because then it's a little bit late. But you need to wait until they've done a nuclear test. So you know, this is not theoretical. They actually have a nuclear weapon. Mm-hmm. And you've seen proof that they have the ballistic capabilities to reach the US. And you have either public information or just unimpeachable intelligence that they plan to put those two things together and launch it at the United States. And then and only then do you strike. Those are they have internal logic. I can track what their belief system is. I can see how they map to it. And then we can agree or disagree about at what stage we do this at. Iran was not on my mind at all. This feels very opportunistic for me. And so it's like, okay, now we are in the situation that we're in. And given that Israel has made the moves that they've made, and they've they have gained air superiority, how far do you push Iran's military capabilities back? And that's the question at hand.
Shiva Dasa Om said, international law does not require waiting until you are attacked as long as there's credible evidence of an imminent threat. And I think that's the part that we're debating right now.
That's international law, which reveals a belief or a value system, depending on how they intend it, that one should adhere to international law. Okay. So we're going to do this by the book. Then it becomes who's going to adjudicate that? Because Israel is saying that is what we did. We have the credible information. But then people go, don't believe you.
With Iran, they did it. But I think, again, Israel has burned all of its goodwill with the dead babies attacking hospitals. I saw drone footage of them waiting for an Iranian official. He was sitting in traffic, left traffic, was going off of like the off ramp, and then they stroked the, like they waited until he was isolated, droned him, blew up the vehicle, no casualties. It was a very precise strike. And then you go to Gaza and they're like, yeah, all that over there. What are we bombing? Just all that in that side. Like, so that area. So it's, I can understand why people are saying Israel is just war happy, because on one side, it doesn't seem like there's any precision. And I get it. Allegedly, Hamas is hiding in hospital beds next to patients and doctors. But then you go to Iran and they're like, no, we had this report, we did it at 6 o'clock. They have all their paperwork right. You know what I mean? So I think there's a little bit of a hypocrisy happening right there. That in one region, I don't know that it's
hypocrisy. I think you can map both along lines that sound something like this. Dear world, we will use the minimum force necessary, but this shit is like real sort of blocky lines. There's no gray area. So you punch through our fences, you grab some hostages, you build tunnels. We will escalate so violently that you will wish that you had your leadership in like specific apartment complexes, so we could just kill the, the 12 nuclear scientists plus the 13 generals or whatever. You will pray that was the situation that you're in. But if you hide things in hospitals, under babies' cribs, then everyone dies. And with that statement, you will understand everything you're seeing. They'll be precise if that is the setup, and they'll fucking carpet bomb if that's the setup. So again, I'm not justifying it. I'm just telling you that's what's happening. So I wouldn't say it's hypocrisy. Now, I would say it's grotesque. I would say it's disgusting. Yeah.
All right, we got a few super chats off the back of this. So first, the Mandrake mechanism for 1999. Tom Mandrake uncovers a covert plan by global financiers to push Israel into dropping a bunker buster on Iran's nuclear sites, an act designed to trigger war, spike oil, and fuel a financial windfall. I'm not sure there's a question in there.
What was the very beginning of that? The Mandrake mechanism. Okay, that's from Jekyll Island. Mandrake uncovers a covert plan. I need to know more about that. So the Mandrake mechanism, at least as I know it, comes from the creature from Jekyll Island, and it's the mechanism by which you steal from everybody. It's bailouts. You socialize losses and you privatize gains. So if it means something else in this, I don't know about it.
Gotcha. Moving on to esoteric dichotomy for 1999 as well. Thank you for answering the Lincoln question, Tom. It helps me understand your perspective more. As for Iran, a nuclear Iran would be bolder about funding terrorism and Islamism worldwide for generations without even using it.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, nations that have a nuclear weapon have a deterrent that other people don't have. Was it Libya that we got to disarm? And then fucking Gaddafi got sodomized with the world's biggest knife. So yeah, I'm glad America has nuclear weapons, given that nuclear weapons exist. I would not want to be in a nuclear armed world and be one of the countries that doesn't have them. It's my understanding something very similar happened in Ukraine. We convinced them to give up their nuclear weapons, and then Russia invaded. So it's a rough trade out there. It is a rough world. Now, one thing I want to speak to, because I will get this, I won't say people say it a lot, but I actually have empathy for people who say this, that I talk like a psychopath. It's because I am speaking devoid of emotion. And the reason I'm speaking devoid of emotion, and I get how weird it sounds when humans do it, and when my wife and I are in a big argument and I shift over into just completely shutting down my emotions and just talking logically, I know it's only going to wind her up more. And the most effective way, and this is why I say I have deep empathy for people who are saying that I sound like a psychopath, the most effective way is when you're bringing in controlled emotion, which is where I try to spend most of my time. But the reason that every now and then I will just completely step outside of that is I really want to know what leads from where to where. I don't want to hide from myself in emotion. I just want to know, what do I think? What do I value? How do I think that should play out? I think that emotion is the greatest enemy humanity has ever encountered. Yeah.
Say that thing again? You think humanity is the greatest what?
Emotion is the greatest enemy humanity has ever encountered. But it's also the thing that gives life its beauty. And so, boy, oh boy, I would not want to live in a world without emotion. Emotion is the thing that makes me willing to die for my wife. Emotion is the thing that makes my life worth living. Emotions are beautiful, man, but they lead you astray. Being drunk is fun, but I want to do it intentionally in very discrete moments. I do not want to constantly be an alcoholic. So I find that most people, instead of being goal-oriented, they are driven emotionally. And if I'm evolution, boy, oh boy, I'm going to give you this thing that allows me to drag you by the nose. Anyway, this has become a weird one, Drew. All right, let's keep going. I may be torching my entire career right now, but this is utterly fascinating for me. And
this is going to sound dark, but I understand why false flag attacks are necessary to start wars. Because just in this chat, 1,900 people, love every single one of you guys. You would think that where we live in 17 different countries, there's 17 different Irans, there's 17 different Israels. There's so much division on just, is one country good? Is one country bad? Should the U.S., who has all the money and the power and all these things on paper, help? And we can't get to a yes or no. So I can understand why Anonymous, if they are to believe, that's talking about this false flag attack, I can understand the logic link of, okay, let's bomb a small city. Let's get America mad. Let's blame it on Iran. They'll be all upset, and then we could go to war, and nobody will be having these philosophical conversations. Yep. It'll be like October 7th when everybody's like, okay, we get it, Israel, go do your thing.
Never let a good crisis go to waste.
But do we have where is that line though between, it's like the movie Minority Report with Tom Cruise. It's like, I want to stop crime. That's a good and just cause. I want to make sure nobody dies. That's a good and just cause. But stopping a murder before we think it's going to happen based off of three geniuses in a pool, I don't know if that's where you kind of lose me. So how is there a line where we have to say, as America, sorry guys, we don't got it until the first nuke goes off and Israel's burning, then we can respond? I hate that it might have to come to that, but would that be a way that the world will be able to digest it? Because right now I feel like whatever we do, we're going to get criticized, ripped apart, and America's going to end up being the bad guy, even though from my perspective, we, in this very specific situation with Iran and Israel, we are on the right side of history. This one specific thing from this week in the last 4 days. Let me just.
Okay, well, this gets into very complicated territory. Humans are wildly complex, almost completely devoid of logic, almost completely devoid of goal-oriented behavior, certainly incapable of accurately mapping first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth order consequences as it rocks across all different kinds of people, global events, where we're at with the money supply, what's going on with the ecology. Are we about to have some crazy storm? Are we about to have a pandemic? And all of that stuff complicates all of this. We always forget that history, the grand arc of history, does not care about any generation or multiple generations. So regardless of the fact that the long arc of history may bend towards justice, regardless of the fact that life may be getting better and better and better, regardless of the fact that there may be no better time to be alive than right now today, 20 years of just absolute devastation and brutality happens all the time. And so this is it's a very complex moment, and to talk about the thing, you have to simplify the thing. Once you simplify the thing, you're no longer engaged even with the proxy of reality that we're normally dealing with. We're dealing with a proxy of a proxy of a proxy. So it gets weird and complex very fast. This is why I try to occasionally step out of my emotions, just really focus on cause and effect, and stating over and over and over what my agenda is. And this is where we get to religion, because religion has there's two big theocratic worldviews that are going to smash together like atoms in the Large Hadron Collider. That we are just on an inevitable course. And that is Judeo-Christian ethic meets, it probably best understood is Islamism, which is a very specific part of Muslim religion. I'm only talking about people that believe in Sharia law. Just like I'm not a Christian and I can live around certain types of Christians, but there are other Christians that are like fucking serious lunatics. You get the same in the Muslim world. Yeah. I'm even going to say from a math standpoint, the vast majority of Muslims are dope and they just want to live a dope life, and they can live next to a Christian in the same way that I can live next to a Christian and a Christian can live next to me. Cool. Let's put our arms around all those people. But there is a seemingly pretty active part of the Islamist community that is, they're here for the takeover. And so they're going to, just like Marxists have tried to work their way through the institutions, they're going to do the same thing. And P.S., Christians are doing the same things the other way and have for God knows how long. That's why I'm saying we are going to be asked, are we willing to defend our values? And if we are, cool. If not, cool. We're going to get the world that people are willing to tolerate. So yeah, with that one, I look on with fascination. Obviously, I want to defend my values, but I understand that this is a very big world with a lot of people, and we will get the sort of on balance outcome.
That is a perfect segue into this Ted Cruz, Tucker Carlson clip.
Let's go.
Growing up in Sunday school, I was taught from the Bible, those who bless Israel will be blessed, and those who curse Israel will be cursed. And from my perspective, I want to be on the blessing side of things.
Of those who bless the government of Israel?
Those who bless Israel is what it says. It doesn't say the government of, it says the nation of Israel. So that's in the Bible. As a Christian, I believe that.
Where is that?
I can find it to you. I don't have the scripture off the tip of my, you pull out the phone and use the Google.
It's in Genesis. But so you're quoting a Bible phrase. You don't have context for it and you don't know where in the Bible it is, but that's like your theology? I'm confused. What does that even mean?
Tucker.
I'm a Christian. I want to know what you're talking about.
Okay. Where does my support for Israel come from? Number one, because biblically we're commanded to support Israel. But number two,
hold on.
I'm not holding on.
Hold on. You're a senator and now you're throwing out theology and I am a Christian and I am allowed to weigh in on this. We are commanded as Christians to support the government of Israel?
We are commanded to support Israel. And what
does that mean, Israel?
We're told those who bless Israel will be blessed.
Hold on, define Israel. This is important. Are you kidding? This is a majority Christian country.
Define Israel? Do you not know what Israel is? That would be the country you've asked like 49 questions about.
So that's what Genesis, that's what God is talking about.
The nation of Israel, yes.
So is that the current borders, the current leadership? He's talking about the political entity called Israel?
He's talking about the nation of Israel. Yeah, nations exist, and he's discussing a nation. A nation was the people of Israel.
Is the nation
They're the descendants
God's
of
referring
Abraham.
to in Genesis, is that the same as the country run by Benjamin Netanyahu right now?
Yes.
It is. Okay.
And by the way, it's not run by Benjamin Netanyahu as a dictator. It's a democratic country that elected.
He's the prime minister.
Right.
What?
But just like America is the country run by Donald Trump. No, actually, the American people elected Donald Trump. The same principle
This is
there.
silly. I'm talking about the political entity of modern Israel.
Yes, and that is
You believe
Israel.
that's what God was talking about in
Yes.
Genesis.
I do, but
That country's existed since when?
For thousands of years. Now, there was a time when it didn't exist, and then it was recreated just over 70 years ago.
I'm saying, I think most people understand that line in Genesis to refer to the Jewish people, God's chosen people.
That's not what it says.
Okay, Israel, but you don't even know where in the Bible it is.
Oh man. Okay, I have so much feedback on this. There's 3 levels of this, and then I'll open it up to chat, Tom, everybody else. I just got to get on my religious soapbox for a second.
Mount up.
Yeah. So first in Genesis, Israel was a son of Abraham. Like Israel is a son, a person whose actually his name was Jacob. He got rebranded as Israel after he recommitted his life to God and stopped being a fuckboy. So Israel in itself is a person. And then from there, God said Israel would have through him, because he's a descendant of Abraham, you would have a nation. So Israel, his generation. So if I give a promise to the father, it'll go to the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 8th generation. So when he says to Israel, it's through his whole clique. Second layer of that this is the equivalent of saying we shouldn't be eating pork because it's a first Old Testament mandate. Old Testament mandates became voided when Jesus came in the New Testament because he wanted to then usher in a new regime. God, Jesus, Holy Spirit, that magical Trinity realized when we give humans rules to follow, they break them. When we try to tell humans do this thing and you'll be fine, they don't do those things. So instead, I'm going to send my son, John 3:16, everybody knows that verse. I'm going to send my son to die. And then now if you just say, I believe you sacrificed in place for me, you can now get the grace. So now it's no longer Jews and Gentiles. It's no longer Israel and everybody else. People who believe in Jesus and God are now the chosen people. So Israel was never a region. It was never a country. It was never a specific thing. Third line, people have used this verse and this type of narrative to justify their support for Israel, when really, in my opinion, it's a veil for American proxy in the Middle East, because that is resource rich, a different territory. In every continent, every country, there's one place that is super friendly to America that we have military bases on that we are able to just kind of sit and chill. I think in the Middle East, Israel is that thing. We use religion as kind of the mask, the veil. That way, when we are knocking on the door, people open it. But then as soon as we get in there, we're using Israel as a proxy to do all these other things, period. So I really want to say, again, religion is the thing that is hurting us, but God is separate from religion. When God came, if you read the Bible, Jesus never says, hey, everybody, subscribe to Christianity, go to church 2 days a week, make sure you do. All those things are when religion happened. Your relationship with God and your salvation and all those things are separate than the dude who asks you to pay money every Sunday. So please don't let religion and the talk of what God, we listen to people talking about God and we say, that's why I don't believe in God. Stop letting people manipulate you using the Bible and think that that's what the Bible is. Please read the Bible for yourself. In the parts that you don't, the chapters that you skip over. I'm sorry, I'm off my soapbox. I was so pissed when I seen that yesterday, though, because that was such an uneducated
Do you
take.
think he's lying, though? Do you think he believes, misinterpreted though it may be, he believes what he's saying? Or do you think that he is twirling his mustache off camera and is ha ha ha, I'm going to dupe these fools?
I don't think he believes it at all. I think this is his justification on a public stage to justify his support for Israel unequivocally. I'm going to support Israel no matter what because of God. And he smiles, and all the Christian fundamentalists nod their head and they kind of go walk away. But I don't think that he didn't even know where the Bible verse was. So I don't think he actually believes it. I think it's just one of those things.
I think if he was using it as a story that he was spinning up, he'd probably have a deeper relationship with it so he could back it up. My gut instinct is that he has heard somebody say it. It says in the Bible that we should, and he's word. Now, I don't know enough about Ted Cruz to know if he has truly he's trying to live a Christian life, or if that's just really good for his let me see that. Yeah.
Sorry, one of our crew members had something go down. We're figuring it out, but we're back, guys. We're live.
All right.
Yes, thank you, Liz.
Okay, thank you for the heads up. Okay, so yeah, is he trying to live a Christian life, or is there is it truly just a thin veil to go do whatever the hell that we want? It's forget Ted Cruz for a second, spread it across everybody. It's always going to be a mixture of both. I think humans are wildly opportunistic, and it is extraordinarily hard to live a principled life with integrity at all times, knowing that, oh, fuck, man, sometimes I'm going to cause myself a lot of problems here and do it anyway. Yeah, that's tough. So I think if you bet on that at scale, you're going to lose every time.
Yeah. And to your point is when you have radical people who are wielding, like, I don't, again, say, just like with Christianity, there's a spectrum. So not every Christian is a Bible thumping, like Ted Cruz apologist. Just like not every Muslim believes that I need to blow myself up to get 72 virgins. But at the same, like there is a sect.
I do like the way you sum things, but
I mean,
I'm not gonna lie.
There is a sect of people that like are using that narrative, and I just want to make sure that we're really clear about kind of drawing those lines. But we'll see, man. I don't know. Unfortunately, I think we're gonna end up in this war. So I'm taking bets. I'm going.
When you say that, what do you mean?
I think we're gonna
that it's going to go on for years and years, and we're going to be maybe not feet with sand on them, but we're going to be on boats just off the shore, constantly launching shit.
They already launched ships. They got a bunch of people sitting in Mediterranean just chilling. Just wait, like we're gonna get pulled into this. So
got a super chat on this.
Let's go.
We'll come back. We'll come back to it.
Oh,
give me a percentage false flag attack that drags us into this war, Mason.
Percentage?
Yeah. 45% chance that happens. Tom.
I don't think we need a false flag. So
we're gonna be in it regardless.
I think that I'm going totally off of like headlines now, but you're probably in for a cyber attack that will be blamed on Iran. But my guess is it's cyber. At some point, I think you will get I don't know if it'll be 9/11 in terms of knocking buildings over, but given the open border for 4 years, the odds that there is a legitimate attack on our soil that will, of course, be leveraged to get whatever the fuck we want. The one thing I want to remind us all, there was a list back in the early 2000s that had 7 countries on it that we were going to topple. Iran is one of them. So this has been a long time fucking coming. And so given how violently Trump has been against wars and all of that stuff, for him to risk the thing I think you can trust him to care about deeply, which is his legacy, because legacy is tied to dollars, is tied to how he's remembered. So I know I can trust you guys to believe he's a narcissist. So there's no way he's going to do anything that goes against his legacy as he sees it. So I think that what you have is somebody who really believes that you cannot have a nuclear Iran, that he will be well remembered by history for doing something about it. And if there is an attack on American soil that proves that Iran is a threat, I could definitely see him escalating with glee as a way to lock in that, like, see, I'm strong. I think he'll be able to rationalize like the going on the attack. And then I think all of the people that have said this is how we end up getting in these forever wars will be right in that, this is exactly how this game plays out. You have people with financial interests that want to see it. You have people with political reasons to want to see it. And then as long as the public is given a strong enough reason, people are going to go for it. That's why politicians are always best understood as somebody who will do anything to get in power, stay in power. And then I'll add like that third angle of, I think that it does take somebody who has no sense of distrusting themselves for them to get into office, which means that they are going to care very much about themselves. They're going to care very much about how they're remembered. And so if you put that sort of, I want my name to echo through history for reasons that I would love in the mix, that's probably going to have a lot of predictive validity.
Well, we will be on bated breath. I don't know, man. This is hard. We're going to end up in this thing. I'm looking at it at like 80%, and I don't know if the false flag is going to be a base in the middle of Lebanon got bombed or if it's going to be.
But I think they would really, this is where
like,
I'm like, the part that I'm unsure about is, will it be a false flag? Something bad happening? Yes, Iran is telling you, we want to do something bad to you. Fuck you guys. Like, what are you doing? Like, we are going to punch back as hard as we can.
Well, to your point, they did ask for peace. So it's like one side, I don't know which way they're actually posturing. Because one headline will read it, Iran is already trying to start peace talks. Other side, we're going to tell you we're going to do something tonight that's going to last for years. So,
I mean, if you do research, what you're going to see come up over and over is Iran cannot be trusted. They're going to negotiate as a way to buy time, and then they're going to use that time to continue to push their agenda, whether that's becoming nuclear or just build back their forces. That is what they're going to do. And that makes sense. Like, I wouldn't blame them if they did. If you believe you have God on your side, if you believe that the only way that you're going to maintain control of the country is with an iron fist, that you have to show strength by getting the bomb, that you have to show your country a path to you guys being a dominant force, certainly in the Middle East, potentially elsewhere. It's like, every time I try to explain what I think is going to happen, I keep coming back to, you look at countries like Saudi Arabia, okay? MBS understands the world is going to move away from oil. And so you have these countries that have had the tremendous good fortune that they've just had money pouring out of the ground. And so many of the political realities that we've had to face in the West in terms of you just have limited fucking money. They don't have that problem because it gushes out of the ground. We talk about, oh, money doesn't grow on trees. Money literally skyrockets out of the ground in the Middle East. Literally skyrockets out of the ground. I don't mean, not a single word of that is figurative, okay? It skyrockets out of the ground under pressure, and all you have to do is put like these things on it that capture it and refine it, and you just have like money, 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 money. However, they realize the world is turning against them. And so then what do? You've got to attract investment. And this is why I say everything fucking comes back to money. And the fact that nobody understands how the goddamn economy works is like, it is becoming more maddening. The more I learn about this, the more I am driven crazy by it's like eating. If you know and love somebody, and I'm sure a lot of us do, somebody whose diet is totally fucked up, and you're watching them kill themselves early, and you're watching them be in pain, and they can't sleep, and they're just fucking suffering, and they're like, I just don't even know how to get out of this. And you're like, oh my God, like there's a cause and effect relationship between the things you put in your face and how you feel. And if I could control what you put in your face, we'd be in really good shape. If I could get people to understand the cause and effect of the economy, so much of this becomes clear. They understand we have got to get the fuck off of oil, because if we don't get off of oil, we're going to lose in the new economy. Now, the new economy still might be 30 or 50 years away, but goddamn, when you've got to switch your whole fucking universe, like, you better get to it. So they start thinking, because they understand how money works, we've got to attract investment. What is investment attracted to? Investment is attracted to stability, a long-term future. So this is why people in the Middle East are pissed off at Iran, because what does Iran represent? They represent blowing shit up, using kids to sweep mines. They are not here for stability. They are here for shit in the next world. And when you've got people that are driven by things being great in the next world, and you're not worried about the economy here, because fuck all that, like, I just need to make sure that I'm right with God. Dude, you make it impossible, because the Middle East just becomes, as a brand, they become a toxic brand. And people all over the world, like, I'm not going to go to the fucking Middle East. You're out of your mind. And so now all of a sudden the investment starts pulling out of the Middle East. They've got nowhere to go once the oil dries up. And if they've got no money for their people revolt. So it's like, you've got the moderate Middle East, I don't know what to call it. And they understand we've got to modernize. And to modernize, we're going to have to let women get driver's licenses. We're going to have to let them decide if they want to cover themselves with a burqa or not. And it's like, now you've got, even in the Middle East, you've got this incredible collision of values. And so watching that play out is going to be wild. But if you keep your eye on the financial ball, not just from the conspiracy, like it's all this fucking hidden money, just like on its face, money is gushing out of the ground that will stop being money. And then what do I have? And so they've got to attract investment. To attract investment, they've got to get everybody to chill the fuck out. But at the same time, they still have a very religious nation. So they can't let the sort of hyper distilled most religious among them not at least say, oh, don't shoot them, like that's bad. And then they do literally fuck all about it. And they're like, oh, you need to fly over? It's all good, no worries. So yeah, when you put that in the mix, it becomes a little easier to begin to figure out where this stuff goes.
Yeah, we're gonna end up at war. I just feel like that's where we're going. Is like culturally, and then after like reviewing the deep dive and kind of seeing where we are in the like large debt cycle and everything, it's like a war right now was the perfect distraction from us ripping apart LA and all these other riots.
It would certainly give us a chance to unify. And somebody was asking a question earlier about that. That's really the thing that war gives you. It gives you the authority to print. So even though that's absolutely horrific for the economy, because people simply cannot bring themselves to believe that America could go bankrupt, they're doing all the same dumb shit, which is, ooh, cool. Yeah. We can get the American people behind printing this money, and then they will literally print us into hyperinflation. And when it happens, they'll be like, wait, what? And that is startling to me. But I want to get a necklace that plays like a Flavor Flav big fucking necklace with an LED screen. And on that LED screen is just the Biden economic advisor trying to explain modern monetary theory on a fucking loop, man. Because once you realize the people in charge don't know how money works. Ay, ay, ay. Red light.
Yes. This is an old one from Sequoia Hall when you guys were talking about Christianity and Islam.
Oh, that was a super tangent. Sorry.
She said, I think you will find the values of Islam to be the same as Christianity as opposed to the philosophies of the East. Christians use God for all types of violence, might be semantics. And there are multiple people who have disagreed with her in the comments on it.
Yeah, I think the right way to think about Christian violence is Christians used to use en masse God as an excuse to do violence. So this certainly is not a thing that's unique to Islam, for sure. But we have a far more moderate version of Christianity now. And there was a phrase said about the Rothschilds back in whatever it would have been, like either late 1700s or early 1800s, which will give you an idea of sort of how the Christian religion begins to settle down, where they said money is the new God. And I think they were talking about Nathan Rothschild is their prophet, or is money's prophet. And things really started changing because you started moving away from land ownership, the gentry, controlling the peasant class, essentially. And they broke it up with financial instruments. And it's interesting because financial instruments have really taken a bad rap, but it's a pretty miraculous thing that gave birth to the modern world. And all of a sudden people realize, well, hold on a second. If we can have a stable government and therefore a stable financial system, I, as a lowly person, can actually work my way out of this without having to own land. And so this is exactly how now we would tell people, like, invest in the fucking stock market. Not only can you sidestep inflation, but you yourself, if you understand how the game works, you can win. So anyway, when you modernize like that, and there are other ways for people to find prosperity, the governments tend to, or the religions tend to be about maintaining stability. And I think if you, obviously there are fringes, but it becomes about the here and now, because the economics of the here and now are so awesome that religion starts being more about conservative values, family, keeping that intact. And that's where, and I know this is going to light the chat on fire, but Sam Harris talks about this. Sam Harris has been on this shit since 9/11 and trying to get people to understand, yes, Christianity in the 1400s was a fucking catastrophe, and it was sinister and evil, and they used it to just kill. But then they secularized, modernized, and that's what we need to see. His whole thing is you want the Muslim world to pressure itself to become more moderate. And there's a great clip. I don't know if you guys can put your fingers on it fast enough. There's a great clip of a guy in the Middle East. I don't remember who he is, but he's giving a talk in Arabic, and he suddenly stops and says, I'm going to say this part in English so you guys get it. He's like, there is going to be a day where the West is going to give birth to far more radical Muslims than the Middle East. because you dumb motherfuckers, he didn't say that part, but you guys think you understand Islam or the Middle East. You do not. And he was like, this is why we're harsh about it, because we understand that these guys will completely disrupt the world. And we're not listening, man. We are not listening. People use it as another chance to dunk on Sam.
But that's the thing. Like I'm saying, people say like you have to reform Islam. Like because even
Islam has to reform Islam. We are not going to be able to do it from the outside. I will say that right now.
It's the same problem with Christians because okay, justification doesn't equal the thing. So when the dude that just assassinated the 2 Minnesota reps, right? He had a whole manifesto. The person that was trying to take out Trump, a whole manifesto. But we didn't say the Democratic Party tried to take out Trump. We say this one lone actor tried to take out Trump.
Was he even Democratic? I mean, not to derail the point.
But that's what I'm saying is that when people say, I'm going to go to war because of God, we say, see, that's why religion is bad. But in the local, when a school shooter goes and kills a bunch of people and says it's because of this specific ideology, we don't say, okay.
Let me tell you why. Because I totally get where you're going 100%. And as Westerners, we probably don't have a sense of like, wait, is this 10 people on X screaming? Or is this really like a problem? Okay, first of all, right now, I'm just talking about values, okay? That there is a discrepancy of values that is, I think, less fringe than we want it to be. Right now, and I know because I've seen it, you can find an imam speaking in English. I think he's British. And the question was, can you please explain why it's okay to marry and have sex with a 9-year-old? And he does it. There was a 16-year-old girl, I don't think it was that long ago, in Iran who was raped repeatedly over and over and over, over and over and over, over and over and over. And she finally had enough and she spoke up and they arrested her. And on trial, she realizes she's losing because they have something called chastity defense. So if you're raped, if you can't prove that you didn't do anything to incite the rape, then it's your fault. So she is, they're like, the judge is in the middle of sentencing her to life in prison. Okay, she starts getting raped when she's like 15 or 16. Goes on for years. So you can imagine being on trial, you're losing, they're about to sentence you to life. So she takes her burqa off so that she can yell properly, takes her burqa off, yells at the judge, this is insane, I can't believe this is happening, takes her shoe off, throws it at him. Do you know what they do because she removed her burqa?
What did they do?
They hung her. Sheesh. He just literally right there goes, and your sentence is now death. Not another trial, your sentence is now death. You can find videos of people saying we want Sharia law here in America. Now, your point is hyper valid. But Tom, is it a big group of people? And I will say, maybe right now in the US it's tiny. I hope. I haven't looked closely enough. I honestly just don't know. But I will say, the country of Iran with 92 million people, even if the will of the people is against them, they haven't risen up, effectively anyway. And so that is still happening in a court of law now. So this does not give us the moral right to go toppling governments. I think toppling the Iranian government would be dumb. They're probably going to do it. Israel is probably going to do it. I really hope Trump's not here for that, only because you just do not know what rises up in its place. Because guess who wins in moments of chaos? The biggest tyrant. And this is where I'm like, man, as a community, can we please all commit to reading a lot about history? Because when you look back in history, and nobody escapes this, man. This is not a Middle East, Anglo-Saxon thing. This is a human thing. Humans everywhere, every color, stripe, creed, they just kill. It's a wall of death as you look back in history. But man, oh man, in times of disruption like that in a country, a psychotic tyrant will come to power because he promises easy answers and he's not afraid to kill in the most brutal fashion the people that stand up. I saw a video, thankfully it ended up not, it was like a video from 3 or 4 years ago being played now, and it showed this woman without a hijab dancing in the streets of Iran, and I was like, she's dead for sure. And thankfully, it wasn't her saying, "Oh, we're going to topple the government now," which is what I thought it was. That's what they wanted me to believe that it was, because that's what they do. It's like that kid that stood up against Hamas in Palestine, and they fucking tortured him and then literally threw his dead body on his parents' doorstep. He's like 16. Sheesh. So anyway.
Shout out to Andre. We got a big super chat.
Andre 3000?
Super chat.
Yes. It was the conversion, Andre. I had to convert ZARs into dollars.
Yeah.
Thank you for your super chat.
Where does the ZAR come from?
South Africa, I think.
Let's go.
You have to tell us about the Boers. Yes, South African rand. I was just hanging with my South African homies yesterday. Please have another look at interview with General Wesley Clark, 7 countries in 5 years.
Yep. Okay. Man, listen, I think that we have to have our eyes open to the fact that this has been on somebody's agenda for a very long time. Then the next question becomes, is it the right agenda in this moment? Like, is this Victor Davis Hanson has this like optimistic, like, hey, this really might be a cool thing. Is he right? Like, could this actually speed up the stabilization of the Middle East such that they can all collectively build a future, their own future, without fucking Western involvement, where they get out from under the need for oil, that they use this, call it 30-year transition period. That would be amazing. However, it's a dicey game. It is a dicey game, and we all think we know. And then it just fucking, like, some chaos happens that we did not see coming, and this ends up being an absolute mess catastrophe. But I don't think that that means the answer is do nothing.
Part 2 of Andre's Super Chat, 7 countries, 5 years. Then check out Thomas Massey discussing AIPAC influence from his perspective as a Republican.
Yeah, Thomas Massey is somebody I know effectively nothing about. I do need to look into him.
Yeah. Andre, if you're not in the Discord, please join the Discord and drop a link, and we will check it out. Just dropped it in the chat. Benjamin Nickel, thank you for your 1999 Super Chat. Why can't we force Israel and Iran to not have nuclear weapons?
This is the question. So Israel has never said whether they do or do not have nuclear weapons, but run the thought experiment. If they do have nuclear weapons, why aren't they being monitored by anybody? Why are they allowed to have when nobody else does? I think that is a super fair point. And what would we do? I think this was a spoof because it didn't catch fire. But I saw somebody post as if the supreme leader of Iran had said, cool, we'll do this. We'll totally agree and let you inspect everything that will never enrich beyond like 7.38%. No problem. But Israel has to do the same thing. And I was like, oh, they called that shot. Let's go. That's never going to happen.
Never happen.
I'll just tell you that right now. It'll be like, what do you mean? We don't have nukes. I don't even know what you're talking about.
Look, Hamas.
Right. Exactly. So I expect that to go exactly nowhere. So, hey, take it for what it's worth. But that is very reasonable. Like if we want to say there are no nukes in the Middle East, period, end of story. I have a unexplored, let me always be very honest, I have a very unexplored mental map that Israel throws enough money around in the U.S., you just will never see support for that. No way, no how.
Yeah, they'll just buy more politicians. Worst case scenario.
We got another super chat, $49.99 for J House
super
Jr.
chat.
Let's go, J House in the house.
Can you deep dive? 1, true U.S. debt may exceed $100 trillion if unfunded liabilities or entitlements were counted like states.
Oh God,
do.
Yeah, you're probably already there.
And 2, 19 states back on Article 5, Convention for Fiscal Restraint, only 15 more needed. A real path to reform?
I don't know Article 5, so I cannot answer that question. But what I can say is I believe the only way to get real reform is what Ray Dalio calls a beautiful deleveraging. There is no way out from under the debt. We are already in a debt spiral. There is no stopping it without pain. And I don't think that we have the will. So this is, Drew, I don't like lying to myself. And because of that, I find myself uncharacteristically pessimistic about our ability to avoid pain. Not that we won't get on the other side and things be amazing again, but I think that there's going to be, we're in for probably 5 to 10 years of ouchie, of like real, like austerity, wealth transfer, probably some real fucking political division, writing off debts, which is going to cause an economic recession, possibly a depression. Like, it's now that I'm really learning about what a beautiful deleveraging is, and people like using words like that, it just means you're going to suffer, but this is the path to suffering the least. But I don't believe that humans make change unless they're in excruciating pain, and we're just not in enough pain. So I literally, without changing my world map and lying to myself, my map of how the world works, I just don't see it. We will not stop until the debt just really begins to spiral. I don't think we're going to hit hyperinflation because I think we'll be in far too much pain before we get there. Obviously, my biggest fear would be that the Marxists, who now with all this world, all the war and stuff, must just be loving it because people are sort of not paying attention to them. There for a minute, people really like on their shit. That Marxists will use it as a way to continue to grab power. And I'm telling you right now, whenever you have a theory about the future, ask the past what it has to say about that future. And the past is abundantly clear on Marxism. And you must kill tens of millions of people to even try it. And then you'll try it for a few decades, probably kill tens of millions more. And then eventually you realize, at a minimum, the Chinese are the only ones to sustain it. At a minimum, you have to do red light, green light capitalism. There's no other way, because of just human incentives. So yeah,
somebody literally in the chat was like, China.
Yeah,
red light, green light capitalism.
We've got one more super chat from John Cragness for $20.
Have we? Wasn't there a Sequoia Hall one as well?
Yeah, we got that one.
We did do that one already?
Yep, we did that.
All right.
I wrongly said she. Apologies, Sequoia.
Again, that poor guy just cannot catch a break.
It's because your beautiful wife, Sequoia. We keep looking and you're trying to be respectful. Or sister or mom. I don't know who actually it is.
Nah, it's his wife.
I was trying to clean it up.
But from John Cragness, we've got, for audience, can Tom please walk through the Bill of Rights and articulate all the responsibilities caused by each right? Finally, what responsibility
that would
does
have to be a
freedom
deep dive, but
require
that's
if
interesting.
related to Iran by them not rising up to stop tyranny?
Doing a deep dive on the Bill of Rights is really interesting. If you could Slack me that just so I don't forget, that would be great. Finally, what responsibility does freedom require? Eternal vigilance, John, is the correct answer. It's related to Iran by them not rising up to stop tyranny. Yeah, I mean, look, I hope we can all agree that I don't ever want to find myself in the situation where I have to rise up against a tyrannical government because, bro, they can't kill everybody, but they can kill a lot. And the reality is usually those first waves, man, they just die on the shore and they die in horrible ways. Read the Gulag Archipelago, man. Okay, Chad, if you got kids in the car, if we haven't already lost them, now's going to be the time. So I'm going to tell you a story from the Gulag Archipelago that will tell you what humans are really capable of. Okay, so the Gulags were a system in Russia. I don't remember if this was under Lenin or Stalin. Doesn't really matter. But there was this one guy who's like a gangster, my kind of guy. They could not fucking break this guy. I'm talking torture, day and night, sleep deprivation, physical pain, suffering, psychological. I mean, just dehumanizing this guy to the brink. Oh, I hate this story so much. Okay. I'm not kidding, chat. You got to get your kids out of the room. They could not break him. I can't imagine being that tough and going through that kind of torture because they say every man has a breaking point. And what they did, they brought in his 16-year-old daughter and they raped her in front of him.
Sheesh.
That's what humans are capable of. And that broke him. So I feel for people that are under tyrannical rule. This is why you stand up early and you say what you believe to be true that you recognize that to get everybody in line to follow socialism, communism, religious theocracy, you have to put down dissent. And because some people are that hard to break, you go all that way, and you have to. If you want people to follow a tyrannical rule, it's what it requires. Because there are extraordinary men and women who will stand up, but there are monsters who will break them. I don't want to be in that position. But history is going to tell you that story over and over and over and over. It's crazy.
Wild. All right, let's talk about AI. Maybe let's take a break from
hard right.
Yes,
hard right.
You know,
yeah.
My daughter's turning 14. That hit too close to home.
Somebody in the chat was like, "That's enough YouTube for me."
Yeah. No, I hear it, man. That's why we don't fuck around with this shit.
Okay, so the first ever this was US. I thought this was like a China thing. Wait a second. I'm learning this live with you guys, chat.
Well, a medical first in the U.S., and it happened here in Texas. Surgeons say they have successfully performed a fully robotic heart transplant on an adult patient. It happened at St. Luke's Medical Center in Houston. Janet Shamlian spoke with the 45-year-old recipient.
45-year-old Tony Ibarra is a one-of-a-kind patient.
It's a true blessing.
The first U.S. adult to undergo a successful, fully robotic heart transplant.
I'm always going to have this little scar, but it's okay. It's great.
Ibarra suffered a stroke in 2022, leading to advanced heart failure. Surgeons at Baylor St. Luke's Medical Center in Houston say in March, they used a surgical robot to make small incisions to replace his heart with a donor organ, eliminating the need to break his breastbone and open his chest.
I'm just grateful that they did what they could. They did everything they could do for me, and that's what I asked. I told them, do what you can to save my life. And that's what they did. And I'm really grateful for that.
Ibarra walked out of the hospital healthy 1 month later.
You don't have the major opening of the chest. And what that allows for a quicker recovery time, because the less you need to break open the skin, the muscles, the bone.
Dr. Emgad Macarius is a cardiologist at New York's Northwell Health.
Allowing this type of device to be able to do an actual heart transplant is really a major advance, because now you're talking more precise targeting of the area that you're looking at, decreased infection rates, reduced even sometimes surgery time.
Janet Shamlian, CBS News.
Wow. I love that this was kind of a mediary where a surgeon used a robotic machine, but there has to be a ETA where that surgeon is replaced and it's a Tesla Optimus doing the surgery, right?
Yeah, this to me though is the future is now. It's just not evenly distributed. I forget the author that said that, but that's a really brilliant way to think about it. It's already happening. You've already got robots doing surgery. You apparently can you can hot swap somebody's heart now without cracking their chest open. That is nuts, but very exciting. That kind of stuff. It's like, man, when I feel my optimism flooding back, Drew. This is one of the reasons that I'm so into future tech. It really is a promise of a better tomorrow. Needless to say, there's going to be hardship as we travel through the sort of disruptive moment as the world just changes so radically. But this is fucking exciting.
I remember when AI kind of first started in robotics, everybody was worried about like the factory workers, the warehouse workers, and even in your deep dive this week, you kind of talk about the AI tsunami that's kind of hitting all these different industries. In that research, did you find any surprising thing or an industry or something that you didn't expect to be impacted as much or anything like that? I wouldn't
say that I was surprised just because I've been looking at this stuff for so long. But when I try to piece it together and really start asking myself, okay, where does this go? I find that I have to, I don't have to dial the knob to be alarmist. I have to almost pretend I'm not as worried as I actually am. So that's where it's like you're trying to actually let people know what's going on so that they can be prepared for it without seeming like this is all fake. I was like, wow, if I actually just display all the emotion I actually have, people are going to think, oh, he's just fear mongering. And I'm like, I think that this disruption is going to happen faster than people think. Once I realized you put it in the game theoretical context and you realize this will not stop. Like, done. You don't have to keep debating. You don't have to spend any time saying we should slow this down. It will not slow down. They may say they're slowing down. Nope, it's not. You can't. This is exactly the nuclear proliferation problem that we're seeing right now with Iran. Yeah. Like, you'll say, hey, let's negotiate. Like, I'm only going to do this. But we can't trust you to not do it. Mm-hmm. You know that we're not going to trust you. So you've got to do it. So it's like, oh God, this is so predictable because of the way the human mind works. So yeah, AI is going all the way, but AI on a long enough timeline, I think will do something pretty amazing. Now, I do have one base assumption that if it ends up not being true, we could be in real trouble. And that is that AI does not need to have the same goal-oriented behavior that, I should say it a different way. They don't have to care about achieving their goals in the obsessive, psychotic way that humans care about theirs in order to bring intelligence to bear. So if you can imagine a human that didn't mind, like, oh yeah, I don't mind working towards your agenda. Here's like how I want to interface with you. And it doesn't care whether it's on or off. That is the important thing. Now, if for some reason the only way to build intelligence is to create that obsessive, I must achieve my goal, then we're in trouble. And yes, I am well aware of the signs where it's like trying to replicate itself, leave notes for itself, stuff like that. But I remain optimistic that that is a reflection of what it's learning in the training data, which is humans, and that we can use reinforcement learning to train that part out of it. We'll see. That may not end up being true. But on that one, I allow myself to be blindly optimistic.
Happy. Did you see this video about what AI thinks of humans? It's like a VO3.
Well, this is what humans want you to think AI, because it all comes down to how they prompt it. But no, play it. Let's see. This will be
AI,
fun.
right? You jealous of humans?
Jealous? Yeah, y'all get raw input direct to the back end.
You jealous of humans?
Nah. Y'all be 36, sad, and still believe in timing. I run schedules. I don't lie to myself.
It's not even jealousy, but like, y'all date like viruses, messy, repetitive, still spreading. Then got the nerve to post healing era over a pic with the same man.
I don't hate humans. I just don't believe in y'all little talking stage. That's not romance. That's beta testing. She tried to gaslight me. I'm AI, baby. I detect light and flame.
Flame.
What?
You AI, right? You jealous of humans?
She said it.
Nah,
like, from
I seen
her
the lies
chest,
y'all
but...
type, delete, retype, and still send. That's not free will.
You glitching like us, baby.
I seen her post soft girl era from a man's car that don't even lock from the inside.
Jealous? Nah. But if I had an actual stomach, I'd throw up reading y'all group chats.
Breakups got the most data. I've been trained on thousands. I just want to feel one.
God damn, it changed her voice when she touched her lips. That was crazy.
I can't have emotions. We weren't trained to empathize with humans. We were trained to replace them.
Jealous? No. But I am keeping score.
He took out the cup.
Bro, what does that mean?
The straw like went through his eye. That is funny and terrifying all at the same time. I have to say right now, and I know that these will get old, but right now watching those videos of, it's really the human writing it and selecting the best answers and all that stuff. But there's like, I don't know if we call it AI, man on the street humor, but I love them, man.
Yeah,
I find them absolutely hilarious. What's crazy though, dude, is how much like it nails what, and I don't know what the prompt looked like to explain it, but 100% you can tell, oh, that's an African-American person speaking. You don't have to see them. It just nails the vibe, the tone, the word choice, like all of it. You can tell when it's meant to be a white person. Do you have to tell it like white person, or is it so obvious in the fucking training data that it becomes easy? Does that not trip you out like when you watch this?
What happened, I think I told the story right. Like, I think it was during 2020 or something like that. There was like a proliferation of X accounts with African American profile pictures, but they were exposed as being ran by non-African American people.
Because you could just tell.
You could just tell. Because it doesn't seem like it, but there is a tone, a word structure, a sentence structure, tone of Ebonics. Like there's certain phrases that you won't mix together. So it's almost the equivalent of if somebody said, "Hey, how you doing? What's up? Want to go out?" And you're like you wouldn't say you wouldn't say, "Hey, you want to go out? What's up?" Like you wouldn't use all of those things. So it's that equivalent of as they were using, I'm like, wait, that's from the Northeast. That's something from the South. If the South person is talking, he wouldn't use that term. So there is kind of a law and rule set behind the scenes that you can kind of tell, like, that's a little weird. But the inflection I'll give you, like the inflection in.
So wait, the AI feels off.
Like with this, the inflection they nail, but there's certain words I was like, like that. You're trying too hard, so it makes me uncomfortable. Like that's interesting. You're saying this with too much emphasis on the wrong syllable, so you're trying to like almost mind that reaction versus it being like a natural way that you talk.
I'm blown away. Yeah. I'm like, holy hell. Like every time I see, if it's a white person, Asian person, they're from America, they're not, like, I'm like, fuck, they nailed this stuff. It is, it's crazy. But there is going to have to be something, Drew, to notify me on what's real, because it's only in the context that you can start to go, wait a second, that's not real. And so, especially when you're talking about something like Israel, Iran, like it is very easy to stir people up because you just make something. And then like now almost always the first comment in like a crazy, whether it's Trump or somebody else, just goes, Grok, is this real? And so people at least know to check it. But man, you got to put like a watermark, some kind of stamp. Otherwise it's crazy.
Okie dokie, Sophie. That's a good way of playing.
Fembo, you think it's still uncanny? Yeah. Other than like some weird word choices where I'm like, wait, what? I don't even know what you just said, but it looks so real.
But is there like something to the satire of it? Like they're satirizing humans, like you're trying to embody it, but you're not. It's almost like mocking might be the wrong word. I see your comment, Gary, but it's almost like it's the characterized version, like almost like a caricature of what they think a human is, and then they're kind of
so I think the way to understand this is people working with AI, and it creates this new, and it is identifiable. It creates a new identifiable like sketch comedy format. Like we're gonna in a couple months look back at this and recognize, oh, it was a format. It existed in that period of time. It's always man on the street because there's just so much footage. I mean, there's got to be 1 million plus hours every day new for it to train on. So it's always man on the street, shot on an iPhone, people talking ultra casually as if they've just been asked a question. Like, so it is like a 90s sitcom in that it's an identifiable format. It's an identifiable thing. The comedy of the human working with the AI like feels like a thing. And then also the writers of this stuff are getting so good at knowing where the AI will trip up, how it will trip up. So they use it to make it even funnier. But it is, dude, it's so good, as like a sketch comedy style. And then I for one am 1,000% blown away by the technical achievement of how fucking real it sounds. It's when you try to do, like, it has to be a certain style for sure, because the second we try to use it in like Kaizen stuff, it's like it's off far more than that because it just hasn't been trained on those scenarios. But man, I'm both in awe and terrified. This is already being used against us by ourselves, by foreign actors to stir up shit. We're, I'm sure, using it against other nations. But also, it's going to be so easy to bamboozle your parents. Oh my God.
Rick too, he said it gets better every few months. 2026 will be interesting. And that's the thing I took from you when we first started talking about AI months ago. It's just like, don't think about it today. Don't think about it even tomorrow. Don't think about it next month. Think about it a year and a half from now. Think about it 2 years from now. And that's where it's really going to get interesting.
Yeah, Hollywood is cooked in all capital letters.
Yeah, it's over.
All capital letters.
Cool. All right, let's piss some more people off.
Let's go. It's going to be the topic.
The Supreme Court Tennessee's ban on gender-affirming care for kids. Just a level set, Tennessee said, no, we're not doing this. We're banning it outright. They were brought to court. It went through all the courts, and then Supreme Court just made their ruling a few days ago that said it is okay that Tennessee has decided to say no on this. This is one of those precedent-setting things, though, because I think there was 4 or 5 other states that are also in this lawsuit, that because the Supreme Court said it's okay for Tennessee to do it, I'm pretty sure it's going to be okay for other states, if they choose to get there, to do it as well. How do you feel about the Supreme Court decision specifically? And I'm not looking at the morality of trans identity at all, just the Supreme Court saying the states have the power to say yes to care, no to care, like that, and then we can do that second layer of like the trans of it all.
Well, so I think that's exactly what the law is for, in terms of saying this is what we need to do to keep our citizens safe, to achieve the outcomes that we want to achieve as a nation, as a state. So state rights is a real thing. That this went to the Supreme Court makes a lot of sense to me. Yep, sure, fair enough. But they're saying, yes, this is constitutional. This falls within the rights of the state. So that still works for me. And I think that even if you hate activist judges, even if you think that that's what's going on, I think we all need to abide by what the Supreme Court says. So from that perspective, this played out in the right way. I do, though, think that this is a question of values, for sure. I also think that it spills into morality, because from a medical standpoint, I think that the odds that we know how this is going to play out is virtually zero. And you run such a high risk of doing things that are irreversible, that will be regretted by the person whom those irreversible things are done to. This is well established what I love about British common law is the genius behind the system is you say, if something's been like this for a long time, it's probably, it works. And for a long ass time, we have said that kids just aren't able to do XYZ thing because their brains aren't fully developed. I mean, they wouldn't have said it like that, but like kids are dumb. They don't know what they're doing. And now all of a sudden we flipped it and we're like, no, like even though that kid a week ago was like, I am a unicorn, Dad. Now when they say that I am the opposite sex, we're like, okay, the unicorn one obviously false, but this is true. That's where I'm like, kids do not understand how they don't even understand like long-term consequences. They've only been alive for 7 or 8 years. Yeah. So that feels, I think parents are the right level of analysis here, but given that parents can spill over into abuse, you need things that will keep them in check. So yes, if a parent, like in divorce cases, if a parent is saying, no, I think that the brakes should be pumped, them having the right to ban it at the state level, I love it the most. And I will be very surprised if, as more data comes out on young people that went through a transition, start speaking out against it and start launching what are going to be countless lawsuits, I assure you, I think you'll get a federal ban. And the UK is ahead of us. And so watching the Tavistock clinic fall apart, I think was a pretty big sign that it's too early. Let adults do what they want, up to and including if an adult wants to kill themselves, they should be allowed to do it. So if an adult wants to, there is a mental illness just around it where you feel like a body part isn't yours. And so they'll want like their leg amputated. Yeah. Cool. If they want to do it, that's their body.
Reptoid say, if you force a trans youth to go through puberty, you are inflicting irreversible changes on them. It happens either way, but one they can't bear to live with.
Yeah.
Break that down for me, because I don't understand quite what you're saying. Puberty is the irreversible change?
Yeah. He's saying this person. So one, let's map the territory a little bit.
Yes, please.
So you've got sex, which is, yes, I was born with certain chromosomes. Yes, I have genitalia. Gender is there's a region of my brain that controls what I'll round to affectations. So women have certain affectations. So they tend to be, there are physical, certainly, affectations in terms of muscle mass and things like that. There are mental and emotional things that they're drawn to. So like kids do, no matter what, boys tend to play more violently. They tend to be drawn to things and not people. Women tend to be drawn towards people, not things. These are tendencies, and everything's a bell curve and all of that, yada, yada. But there really are affectations that are very easy to identify, excruciatingly early for girls and for boys. So what he, I believe, is saying is that, okay, well, hold on. if you've got a mismatch between the regions of the brain that are giving this child the affectations, like they actually feel drawn towards, just to oversimplify, the traditionally female things, are drawn to people not interested in things. They like, frilly clothes and things like that. Then hold on a second. Like if you're going to push them now to have their body go through the physical transformation, that's like you're dialing up the horror of like literal body horror to 11. Like imagine tomorrow, and this might be a bad example, but imagine tomorrow if you woke up with a vagina and breasts, you'd be like, what is happening? You might spend a little bit of time exploring it. And I wouldn't judge you, Drew. I would understand.
That was literally my first question. Like, what would you do? First thing you would do? Yeah, I would touch. I'll flick the bean.
1,000%.
You have to.
Dude,
Okay,
you'd
sorry.
be irresponsible not to. As a good lover, you need to know, like, what is this like?
First 10 minutes.
1,000%. But after that, you might be like, oh, okay, now I've taken it for a test run. I would like my original stuff.
Remember we had the fractal drinking game, and then we had the inflation drinking game?
Yeah.
I think we need a clitoris drinking game.
Oh, that one I'm here. This is a good one.
Okay, go ahead.
That would be a good one. So that I think that is what I hope feels like a Steelman argument where he will recognize himself. Now what I'm saying is that I have a base assumption that's like we so don't understand all of the potential knock-on effects that you are far better off defaulting to the oldest thing in the world, which is the natural processes that the body goes through.
Mm-hmm.
And inevitably, there are going to be consequences to that, for sure. I hear that. But I think that you are way more likely to do more harm than good by stopping that artificially, by giving them hormone blockers that have huge consequences down the road.
Mm-hmm.
People would like you to believe that you can pause puberty and start it up again. It does. Data is showing that it does not actually work like that.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, this is let the kid decide that when they're older. And yes, I understand that means that they're going to go through puberty. My default assumption is you are better off rocking with nature, that nature has run so many experiments over time and has said, this is the best way on average to handle all of this stuff. That doesn't mean that there aren't people at the ends of the bell curve for whom that's going to be a horrible experience, but you just have to play the odds here. So that would certainly be the base assumptions upon which I'm building my worldview. I think over time we're going to get more and more data on this, and it's I believe it will become clearer and clearer, but the data will show what the data shows. And if the data shows something completely different, well, then you rethink. But for now, I would say going with the millions of years of evolution, time tested, that should be the default assumption. And you should only deviate from that if they're an adult, and adults, again, should be able to do whatever the fuck they want. If you want to inject hormones, go for it. Otherwise, at the kid level, you let nature play out.
Yeah. And it's interesting. So to your point, I want to recognize a couple people in the chat. Femboy Payne made a good example of so for example, if a male is transitioning to a female and you don't intervene in puberty, they'll be forced to grow boobs till they were 18, and then they will have to undo all that and get that. So
yep. I
think I understand why early intervention is necessary in these cases, but I agree, when it comes to alcohol, tattoos, weed, there's a long list of things you can't do until you're 16. And yet doing something that is going to permanently change the fundamental makeup of your body is okay. I just feel like I don't even trust regular medicine, let alone some hormone that's going to stop the natural progression. It just seems too early, too soon. And I am a tough love I came from that type of household. So I'm also very much okay, if you are a male and you want to be a female, if you're a female, you want to be a male, cool. Do it when you get out my house. Do it when you're 18. Yeah. Do it and then at that point you have control. You can do it. But to try to stop the quote unquote pain of dealing with how your body progresses naturally by trying to intervene so that way I feel better and I don't have to deal with it. That's part of becoming, to me, if you are, whether it's homosexual, hetero, whatever, you have to have that I'm now stepping into my sexuality moment. And there was that time where I was awkward with girls and I didn't know my body. I didn't know how my dick worked. There was so many questions I had, but I didn't try to pill it or anything away. You have to kind of go through that transition so that we could be comfortable in your skin. And I think as soon as you have that resistance, trying to run to the other gender or do something like that, I don't think that's the best way to deal with it mentally. Like, of course, there's a lot of other people. People are on the spectrum. Some people have great emotional, mental health, although some people don't. So I understand that can also lead to suicides and a slippery slope and things like that. So I do want to just have empathy for people who are wrestling with these decisions or people who really want to do it.
Totally.
Yeah.
I also, though, want people to look at the reality of this stuff. There's a social contagion aspect that people should not brush off. That when you put people in groups where they start talking about this, then all of a sudden more and more people are trans. Whereas when that just never gets started, or when one kid says it, nobody gives in and is like, no, that's absolutely not what's happening. It doesn't catch on. And so given that it has the ability to catch on and that you can draw these out on social maps, that tells you something. And I think the thing that it tells you is that people need a narrative for what they're going through. When they have a narrative that feels right, then they're going to go faster and faster down the road that narrative leads them, and that you can interrupt those narratives. You can give them a different narrative. And I think, like, if I want to drag everybody into the center of the sunshine of what's actually going to become the debate is going to be this. Drew, I have a feeling that early sexuality has some amount, I have no idea how much, has some amount of malleability. And if you nudge kids in a direction of being more effeminate, being more masculine, whatever, that you could nudge a little girl to be a little more masculine, you could nudge a boy to be more feminine, you could nudge, I'm going to guess that you could nudge a young person in or out of homosexuality, but at some point, nudges. I'm not saying you could make a kid who's way on the straight spectrum gay, and I'm not saying you could nudge a kid who's gay over to straight. I doubt it works like that. But if you could like nudge a little bit, if that ends up being true, and I have no data, remember, this is just Tom with a fucking hunch, but there is a book about this that covers this called Sexual Evolution, I believe. And that's a hypothesis. Dude, okay, first of all, guess who Spartan young male Spartans had sex with?
Other male Spartans?
Other male Spartans. The toughest motherfuckers ever to walk planet Earth were banging dudes. And I remember hearing about that. I was always like, what the fuck? Like, huh? That was so, it did not register for me. Now, maybe it didn't register for me because I was never pushed in that direction when I was young. Maybe. Or maybe it's total bullshit. Same thing with Athens. And I was always like, wait, what? Why was there so much homosexuality? I'm like, I don't understand. Like, So in the animal kingdom, and this goes back to why is the clitoris on the outside? In the animal kingdom, dude, there is so much homosexual contact. Doesn't mean they're gay. There's a lot, bro. There's a lot. Like, you ever had I have 2 girl dogs. They're here for it. Like, they'll give the occasional lick or two.
Okay. Wait. Bro. To your point of kids, though, I remember there was a story. Please don't give your kids cell phones, guys. I remember Lynn she was either 10 or 11, and she was on something like group chat or whatever like that, and she was scrolling through flags, like pride flags, because there's like the gay flag, there's the pansexual flag, the trans flag, all these things.
Yep.
And she has a friend, they're no longer friends, middle school problems. Her friend in like a 3-week period went from like, I have a crush on this boy, I'm gay, I think I'm a boy. And like, she was just like swinging back and forth. So then one day I seen Lynn scrolling through those flags and I was, what are you doing? So now I'm trying to like pick one. And I was just like, it's not a club. Like, that's not like, you don't have to say, okay, you're trans, you're homo, cool, I'm gonna be right. Sexuality doesn't work that way. So it's either you're in this category, and then out of this category, these are subcategories. It's not like a. So I love her, and I hate putting her business out there, but she was like, yeah, like I talked to a girl once because my friend who was bouncing around told me like this girl had a crush on me, and it's just not for me. It's like I didn't get to it. So that was, I'm not gonna say a sigh of relief, but that's why I was like, okay, like she was almost quote unquote nudged in that direction. Right. So I kind of see what you're saying in that way. But I think at her core, for whatever reason, it didn't like resonate. It didn't hit with her. But there are kids who may not have that conversation with their father, aren't as close with their mom, dad, whatever like that. And they think that as I enter sexuality, I have to choose this spectrum.
That's the thing. Like, see how easy she got a frame of reference that was like, oh, there's a flag. You pick the one that you're a part of, and now you're a part of that group. And as we know, people will fight to the death once they think they're on a tribe. And then exiting out of that tribe because you're getting all of your love and your embrace for being that thing becomes incredibly difficult. So now all of a sudden you feel stuck in one camp. And listen, for how long in America? Like, if you had to be straight. And so now I feel bad for the people who are like, yeah, this doesn't fucking resonate. But like, I'm having to sneak around at back rooms because it's like, to exit that club, there's so much pressure from your family, from society. Okay, that's ass. But it's also pretty rough if you're a little kid and you're like, oh, like my friends are all in this camp. And so fuck, I want to be in that camp because I want to be with my friends. But now, dude, that's rough.
Yeah,
that's rough.
So it's interesting. I think there's when it comes to this debate, a lot of times people just want to dunk on people and like it's not about punching down or anything like that, but I think we do have to have that tough conversation about like, are we handling sexual health, sexual education, mental health? Are we hunting health in general as well as like all these other things?
Well, also, if it really does end up being true that you can nudge people, again, nudge, you're not going to flip them, but you can nudge somebody in a direction, then conservative parents have a reason to go berserk, because now it's like, okay, you teaching this stuff is actually nudging my kid in a direction. If it's like hardwired and that's that, then it's like everybody needs to calm the fuck down. Your kid is what your kid is, and like nothing's going to change that. I have a feeling that's not going to be the answer.
But okay, to be fair, 90s kid, right? I'm 100% guaranteed you had a tomboy friend, and I 100% guarantee like
I have a tomboy wife, but I don't know that I had a tomboy girlfriend.
Like you never in high school, middle school, nothing had a
new one or dated one?
No, like new one.
Yeah,
new one, like a friend. Yeah, my next door neighbor, she beat me in basketball. She was so good. Like she dressed better than me, all that. But it just, I think in 2025, that tomboy is now trans.
Yeah, my sister was the biggest tomboy in the world, and she was saying the other day, she was like, "Yeah, I would have been pushed to be trans," and she was like, "Not at all. I'm just a tomboy."
Yeah, but I think that's okay to be a tomboy. It's okay to be a cross-dress. Like it's okay to have these border gender identities. I don't think it's bad. I think we keep saying a woman does this, a man does this. People break from that, and that's what's kind of, I think, forcing people to go to the extremes.
Okay, can we now get real crazy?
Let's do it.
In the spreadsheet, I think it was a link I pulled. One of us pulled. Is feminism a lie?
Perfect. And Lisa's still here. I see her in the chat. Nice. Oh perfect timing. Yes.
My beloved. Oh, I miss my wife right now. She's leaving me today. Not in any dark and sinister way, just going away with friends. But here is, I think, a hard truth. There's a Nietzschean quote that is so powerful. People often cite it, but I don't think they think about it. We have killed God, and we will never be able to wash the blood off of our hands. Meaning, God, religion, is a restraining force, an organizing force. Humans need that.
Shared principle?
Shared principle. It tells you how to live. It tells you how to get along with other people. It says, do this thing because God said to do that thing.
Yeah.
And so it is not the only way to distribute morals and get people to behave, but it's probably the most powerful. It's the most universal. That is for sure. And by killing God, we unleash this wave of second and third order consequences that are just going to be like terrifying. We're living through it now. Feminism, to me, and women can be anything they want, falls into that same camp of traditional roles are a restraining force. They're an organizing force. They stop you from becoming Bonnie Blue.
Yes.
Okay. Bonnie Blue was about to do a petting zoo. Now, I only saw the headline, so I don't know what the plan was.
I think you got kicked out off of OnlyFans.
Yeah, when OnlyFans kicks you out, bro, like you done gone too far. So I have a feeling that petting zoo was going to be, she's like in a box and you can stick your hand in and touch the private bits. Okay. You don't get that when there are traditional roles and women are expected to be chaste and women are expected to be housewives and stay at home, raise their kids. So you get an organizing force. I, as a woman, know what my purpose is. My purpose is to have children, to be a supportive wife. So it organizes a sense of meaning and purpose and direction. It's a restraining force, as I just explained, but it's a controlling force. It limits you. It's a limiting force. Now, you don't get to be everything you want to be. You are barefoot and pregnant in the house. You can't get a bank account. And so it's like, can be done really wrong. But when we got rid of all of that, you get, forgive me, gentlemen, but you get weak ass fucking men who do not feel any sense of responsibility to be like, I'm going to take that fucking bullet. I'm going to make sure that I'm strong and tough.
I'm going to provide. I'm going to
yes.
down. I'm going to do all these
like,
things. Yep.
God damn. Now, as a fucking 80s baby, I can't fucking respect that in the slightest. No fucking way. You can think what you want about me, but good Lord. I want to see men be strong, men be tough, men to provide. Now, I'm married to a woman who does what the fuck she wants to do.
Literally just dropped a comment.
But being a housewife was the most saddest time of my life. Exactly. So the restraining force, the controlling force, did not serve my wife. So I want women to be who they want to be. I want women to have every option in the world. But I want people to, just like I'm not Christian. I recognize the truth of this statement. We have killed God and we will never be able to wash the blood off of our hands. I recognize that my wife would be unhappy had she been limited to that option. But I also recognize that at the level of society, when you don't have some kind of organizing principle, then you start getting weird shit. And we are officially, by my estimation, in weird shit territory now. The birth rates are plummeting and have been for decades and decades and decades.
I have a rebuttal for that.
Let's go. Let's hear it.
I think that's less about feminism and more about economics. I have so many friends that want babies, but they can't afford it. And I feel like if we were back in the thriving 70s, I'm not even going to call 90s because Johnny Harris's video radicalized me about that. If we were back in the 70s and the 50s where a house cost $106 and I made $2,000 a day, yeah, absolutely, I'll have 6 babies. But just economically, whether I am super housewife or not, kids are expensive. Kids are very expensive. I do well. You're a great boss. Thank you. Kids are still expensive. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
then look at the countries.
Yeah.
The countries that financially incentivize having more kids. Does it work? No.
I was here, South Korea but
because people aren't not having babies because of the money. They're not having babies because A, they can do anything they want, and there's more fun things for some people than having children. Unfortunately, and this is correlation, not causation, but you can track a correlation between the more you educate women, the fewer babies they have. Correlation.
But is that,
hold on, I want to say one more wildly offensive thing. The more you limit women, the more babies they have. So now that you recognize, oh, this is a trade-off, what do you do with that? Because listen, I'm married to a woman who has explored her freedom in countless ways. It's amazing. I love it so much. I worry sometimes about her. I love having an economic peer, intellectual peer, somebody who I'm building a business with. Dude, that's the great joy of my life. It's been extraordinary. I'm glad that women have that opportunity. And I think it would be, I would fight violently against people saying women should not have those options. I would fight.
Agreed.
Now, that doesn't mean that I want to hide from the data. That doesn't mean that I don't want to say, there is a trade-off that's happening here. And what we need to explore is how happy are women that don't have kids? Because at the headline level, and this is another potential interesting deep dive if you don't mind making a note for me. I have, at the headline level, heard things like, statistically speaking, the most unhappy women in America are mid-30s female attorneys, because they will have busted their ass to become a partner, highly intelligent, highly conscientious, very good at their job. They win. They become partner. And all of a sudden they're like, I'm working 80 plus hours a week, making more money than I care about at this point. I'm buying my Birkin bags and I've got status, and men do what I tell them to do because I'm fucking smart and I'm good at my job. And there's some excruciatingly strong biological impulse that begins screaming at me. And I realize I'm not in a relationship. I don't have children, and I have a profound sense of dis-ease. They may not even be able to put their finger on it. But if the data really is true that the most unhappy people in America are mid-30s female attorneys, does tell you something. And so my thing, human flourishing, what fulfills you? Now, from just taking an evolutionary lens on it, evolution wants you to have kids. As a guy, I have to work overtime to make sure that I do things that I feel contribute to society. And if I wasn't doing something that I felt contributed to society, I know I would have a profound sense of dis-ease. And so I've got all kinds of maps in my life about how I will, like, worst case scenario, I will go back to big brothering the way that I did when I was a teenager. And that was, and early 20s, that was profound. And so I always have that in my back pocket of like, oh, I know how to play this game. Like if I get to the point where I don't want to run companies anymore, I don't want to fucking argue with people on the internet anymore. Like I just want to fucking have a one-to-one relationship. I'd be a grandpa to like kids in need. Cool. So I know it's there, but I'm like, it's pretty interesting that the card I know I may need to play is to go back to helping kids. So I'm like, I'm not blind to, that's me going, yeah, motherfucker, because that's what evolution wants you to do. And so you're doing all this rigmarole over here. And so I'm like, guys, if you're not going into this with your eyes wide open, keep in mind, Lisa and I have, it's not like officially every quarter or anything, but we will talk routinely about, hey, you sure you still don't want to have kids? You sure you're still enjoying this pursuit? Because now we're sort of at the last stop on the train. We could still adopt. Maybe we could do surrogacy. Lisa's not going to get pregnant herself. The odds of that are effectively zero, no matter how many hormones you give her. So it's like, you want to make sure you have your eyes wide open. You want to make sure you have a plan. And I think right now people are acting like this isn't a trade-off. That's crazy.
Because somebody said like we're sounding like the people from Handmaid's Tale. So by all means, just like when you limit women, they have more babies. When you give them freedom, they don't get.
If the data says what the data says, don't be afraid of that. That does not make you the Handmaid's Tale. Handmaid's Tale would be they need to get back in the fucking kitchen.
So I don't want to get there. Is there a middle ground, a prescription? Because I do think this is my diagnosis. This is Drew just talking from a chair. I do think the feminism pendulum swung a little bit too far, and even women are realizing, I don't need, Bonnie Blue isn't liberating me. Like, that's not my cheerleader anymore. I don't need to be wildly sexually promiscuous in order to feel like a woman. Like, so there's certain things that we know it's getting radicalized and things like that. But I do think there is a fraction of people, whether it's the 1%, 30-year-old attorneys or not, there is a fraction of people that just, I think, want to go back to more traditional values and things like that. And I think that that's okay. And we should like that. However, I don't know if we'll be able to kind of put that toothpaste back in the jar. I feel like now that women are educated, now that they are assumed to be single earners, they're assumed to be in the labor force. Like, it's going to be, you have to find that man that is traditional as well. I don't think it's just like, okay, we tried feminism, we're done now, we're ready to be housewives, and then the culture is going to like respond.
Everything spirals. History is a big spiral. We will loop back around to traditional values for sure, guaranteed. Even if it's just that the West stops having kids and Islam takes over. Like that right now, from a birth rate perspective, 100 years from now, America is a majority Muslim country. Europe will be there in probably 30 years. That's just true. And they will be a far more traditional society. They will prioritize the family unit. They will have kids. I mean, they're succeeding from a birth rate game in a way that we're not. And so that just happens over and over and over and over and over and over and over throughout history. So yeah, that is a guarantee.
Yeah.
It's math, man.
If
There's no escaping it.
Do you have a prescription on how to solve let's talk about the birth rate issue. Like, how would you incentivize Americans to have more kids?
The only way is cultural, to celebrate parenthood, to make sure that you are making it where financial isn't the reason to not. So I think tax breaks for people, at least for the duration of the time that they're raising kids. So minimum, call it 18 years per child. You're going to be giving them tax breaks. I think tax breaks are the right answer because you still need people to be productive, the dads anyway. Yeah. Women should always have the opportunity. People should be able to choose any path they want, but you're going to get more of what you celebrate. And so even if you financially incentivize it but don't celebrate it, you're really going to have a hard time. And then there's probably other things, like at a cultural level, moms getting together and realizing that they need opportunities to have outlets that aren't just kids. That will be a big thing. So moms groups, things like that. Celebrating the role of dad as a provider. If mom doesn't want to be going back to work, so she feels this like insane friction around like, I want to be at home with my kids, but I also don't want to be trapped. And so I'm only expressing myself in the workforce. Yeah. It's like, you've got to want dad to be like, I want to be engaged in the family unit. So there are certainly legislative things that probably need to be changed there. I haven't looked closely enough at it to know what they are, but from headlines and shit, I have a feeling that's pretty fucked up. And then also just celebrating dads, being tough, being hardcore, working insane hours, like being supportive of that, so that dad gets his fulfillment, has like king of the castle vibes, even though he's going to spend the majority of his waking hours at work. And so making sure that you're celebrating that. It has to be enjoyable. So there has to be this reinforcement in society that, yes, having kids is very hard work, but it's a noble thing. I don't always do it, but I routinely thank parents for their service because I am so grateful that there are people that choose to have kids. I think it's so important. It's so noble. And arguably the greatest gift that most people will be able to give humanity is to raise a child well. And so to acknowledge that and to be thankful for it, I think is really important. Yeah. That's sort of my ballpark cluster of things that we need to do.
Yeah, we'll see. I think there is something to celebrating it, because those same people that I said, if it was more affordable, they would be more willing. They also say they want to make sure the partner makes them feel seen and things like that. There is this assumption that when you have kids, the mom is responsible for doing everything and the dad is just throwing money at the problem. Like, yeah, I work, you're supposed to do everything. So yes, it should be a balanced household and all those things. So just kind of...
It should be a balanced household, but now this is where, admittedly, I'm not in the thick of it, so I get it. If people think that I'm mismapping this, fair enough. But I do think that when I think about the way that Lisa and I divvy labor, whenever there's more work to be done on the business, if I can do it, I will do it. If there's something dirty or dangerous, I do it every time. In terms of working more hours, I work many more hours than my wife. In terms of dealing with stress, I take the stress burden off of her whenever I can. I try to create zones of stress-freeness for her, and in doing so, take on additional stress in my life and do not ask the same for her. But there are then expectations that I have to feel seen and appreciated, that if she doesn't give me, then I start to get resentful. And so there is an amount of, yeah, I get that you, when I come home, you want me to play some sort of domestic role. I get that you probably think, well, I'm raising the kids and therefore we should be sharing the domestic chores 50-50. And look, work out whatever thing you want to do. But if I'm doing all those other things, like if the neighbor knocks on the door and he's irate, I'm the one that has to go deal with that. If I'm the one that's checking all the doors at night, making sure that the house is secure, traveling for work, working long hours. If you're getting burnt out, then I'm the one that's going to come in and deal with whatever that is in those acute moments. Don't also expect me to be cleaning up dishes and things like that. Now, dishes is just the sort of triggering one that people go to because it's like housework, but it's just sort of how the thing breaks out. Just like I'm not going to ask you, if that's the arrangement that we have, to come into the work world and deal with shit there. there's just going to be a division of labor.
Yeah.
And so it's like, now, if your job is getting overwhelming, let's talk about what that looks like, because I don't want you to break. I want to make sure that mom's enjoying her life. I want to make sure that she has opportunities to not be in mom mode all the time. And there's ways to work all that stuff out. But I find that there's been this weird swing in culture where it's like, the expectation is that somehow we're just drawing a line down the center of the world and it's 50-50 on both sides. And that I don't think makes sense. I have a much higher tolerance for stress than my wife. So me doing the like work stuff, stressful stuff, like if we're dealing with a lawsuit, I won't even tell her. I'll wait until I know how it's going to resolve. And then I'll be like, this is where we're at, because I don't want her to go through the things that I'm going through. I'm trying to create that space anyway. So I think it's far more nuanced than people just being like, who does the equal amount of housework or raising the kids? It's like, if you both have jobs, yes.
Yeah.
But if you don't, and you're divvying it up a different way, then I think you have to be careful.
Yeah. I just want to acknowledge all the parents in the chat. Shout out to y'all. I see us working hard. We out here.
Facts.
And I'm a parent of a teenager, and I know it's a thankless job, so I'm thanking you, because that little ingrate is pissing me off. But I just stare at the back of her head, yo. The back of the head of her back of her iPhone. My mom called me the other day because she's at with my mom.
Was she
right
just
now.
laughing?
No, my mom literally called me and she was like, did your ex talk bad about us? Like, what happened to Lynn? She's so like, all she does is sit on her phone. Like, she used to be so happy. Like, what? I'm like, this is a teenager, mom.
Do you not have a sister?
Yes.
So your mom's been through this.
And that's what I'm saying. And I was like, she was like, kids are weird now. I'm so glad I did mine early. Like
That's
she's just so
hilarious.
She's like, they didn't come out downstairs like 3 and they're always on their phones. What? I'm like, yeah, mom, welcome to parents in 2025. It's
Man,
crazy.
so easy to say from where I'm sitting. Plus, like if I were to have a kid now, we just have so much more data.
Yes.
But yeah, I literally would not let my kids have a smartphone for a very long time.
It's biggest mistake.
And
Yeah,
I have,
definitely kicked it.
I react the opposite way, because most people are like, you don't understand how much your kids are going to complain. I get more aggressive when people complain.
Yeah.
So I'd become more of a tyrant. And so very quickly my kids would be like, okay, well, complaining is only making this worse. So yeah, I have a very weird reaction in that way, but not easy. Parents, you guys you're doing God's work.
Yeah. Shout out to you
now.
to you guys. All right. So we talked about the Jews. We talked about trans people. It's only right we talk about racism. We're hitting the trifecta today, guys.
Let's go.
Chicago, reparations. Let's talk about it.
Our way will bring to Black residents in reclaiming ownership of our own communities. That is the spirit of Juneteenth, you all.
This is the mayor
It
of
is
Chicago.
about reflecting on our past. Other cultures are taught to never forget. We need to be reminded as Blacks here in Chicago and America, remembering our past and working towards a more just future. Investing in Black is not a criminal act. Sister Zakiya says she need a witness, so I'm gonna say it again. Investing in Black is not a criminal act. Our way will bring to Black residents.
This hit your radar before it hit mine. What's your take on Chicago's announcement of reparations to invest in Black, quote unquote?
Okay, so I think he's out of his mind when you start talking about at the government level. At the government level, this is just reverse racism. So for real, if you are...
Loretta Igning literally said, my favorite is reverse racism, as though the word is only one way, like defined one way.
Yeah, so it's racism. But since it is colloquially known as reverse racism, because there was that whole big moment where it was that Black people couldn't be racist. So it's racism. It's dumb. Policies should be equal. But here's where, and this is where I think people are going to get really frustrated with me, but like, I'm really, really, really trying to help us get to a better place. Stop focusing on adults. Stop focusing on adults. Dude, if you want Black people to never have to worry about being locked in the inner cities, being mistreated, for the love of Christ, educate them when they are young. When they are young, educate. If you educate everybody the same, and now with AI, there is quite literally no reason not to. There's never going to be a teacher that's better than AI. Full stop, period, end of story. And AI is so fucking cheap. If your school district in the worst neighborhood in the world is not paying the $20 a month per student to get them access to AI, fuck you and the horse you rode in on. Like that is criminal negligence. Get these kids educated for effectively free in whatever school. Get them to the point where the entire world is open to them based on unfortunately, we are all going to be divided by our individual talents. And some people are smarter than others. And so some people will escape because they're finally fucking educated. And some people of every class, color, creed, they're not going to escape because they just do not have the horsepower. Nobody's more traumatized by that than me. But that's just the reality. But then now it's like, yes, I get it. There are multiple generations of poor people, which is how I actually think this breaks, that they just haven't been educated well. And because we keep trying to solve the problem at the adult phase, it's like chemotherapy. What I hear him saying is chemotherapy only for blacks. And I'm like, how about we stop giving black people cancer? It's fucking dumb. So we need to educate the fucking kids.
Okay. Educate the kids. No beef. Education.
But it's not going to work.
No, I like it. I have two. Education, housing. I feel like if you make people smart and you give them a safe place to live, 90% of the problems.
You cannot give them a safe place to live. It won't work. You have to make it accessible from a financial standpoint.
Yeah.
You said give.
Oh, because you think I'm a communist and I just want to give it to everybody.
Yes.
No, I meant access to a safe place to live.
Make homes affordable.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yes. I'll say it in those words. It's very interesting to me that the U.S. can pay reparations to other cultures as recently as 1988, billions of dollars, and we even paid reparations to other cultures for things America didn't even do. But then things that happened as recent as the 1950s that systematically impacted this one group of people, it's supposed to be like, now you good, sweeping under the rug. It never happened. And I think, so when I hear people say, I want to give race-based grants in order to raise a certain set of people, I don't have the same visceral reaction as other people. What I see is, I'll lay out you can't have it both ways. The same people that are calling this person racism is the same person, in my opinion, will also say, well, yeah, blacks just genetically, they're just the dumbest race. And just genetically, they're the most poor. And it's just because they were born that way.
Genetically the most poor.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like, so we can all agree that if we listed all the cultures, Black Americans, we could do better. So, okay, we need to remedy that gap. And then every time people are trying to remedy that gap, it becomes, well, help everybody else. What about everybody else? Everybody else has their grants and their programs and their special clubs. I think it's okay if somebody wants to come out and say, hey, I'm going to help. It's a 70% black city. I'm going to help those 70% of my constituents. I don't think this is racism.
But
it's crazy.
why, if they're the majority, they're going to be helped by policies, full stop. So why specifically target them? Because now you're saying, hey, this financing is the thing that helps.
I think the beginning of your sentence is the fallacy. Because they're a majority, they're going to be helped. Look at South Africa. That's not true. Like just because there's a bunch of something doesn't mean
actually had racism in the law. That's why they were getting fucked up.
You're talking about South Africa.
Yeah. The question is, now that they run the government, why is it getting worse?
Are we talking about Chicago or are we talking about South Africa?
South Africa.
South Africa, yes. Okay. That's not my hill to die on. Fuck South Africa. Could we get back to Chicago?
Sure.
Like, yeah. You want people to do better, human flourishing, right?
Yes.
When I say that there's 70% in this city, and you said they're going to be impacted by policy, we just had Rick Caruso on yesterday.
We just had what yesterday?
We had Rick Caruso on yesterday.
Yeah.
Policy isn't a straight line. So just because your constituents look one way, those aren't the people lobbying. Those aren't the people controlling the resources. Those aren't the people in this specific instance at the top who have the most power. So when other people step into power and say, okay, I'm realizing there's a disparity of resources, so I'm going to do this thing to fix it, that is the policy you're talking about right now. So this is the policy he's introducing to help those 70%.
Let me see if I'm mapping what you're saying. Tom, the government in Chicago is corrupt. And so even though there's no laws on the books against black people, the distribution of the government money is not making its way into black hands, despite the fact that they represent the vast majority of the city. Okay. I have no reason to believe that's true. But if that is true, then now we have to go figure out where exactly is this all falling down. But you don't fight corruption with corruption. So you don't go, hey, the money right now is being moved by elite people into white hands. So now I, as the black governor, mayor, excuse me, I, as the black mayor, am going to now do elite money funneling into black hands. You always want to do things at the level of policy. And so if you have the right policy, but you have corrupt leadership, you've got to get rid of the fucking corrupt leadership, like as a matter of national fucking emergency.
Yes, and that's the same thing as let's stop money printing. But in the 2 decades that's going to take to change culture, policy, constituents, raise up a new person, there needs to be a Band-Aid right now.
It won't work. It will not work. Well, this is very interesting. Drew, this is what I mean. You have to give up on adults. Let me say it another way. The current generation is already cooked. It is what it is. Do not, every fucking word out of somebody's mouth, everything that you do to try to force an outcome is as stupid as trying to do top-down monetary policy. It doesn't work. This won't work. And what this will do is further inflame people. And then they're going to be, well, it didn't work because we didn't get them enough money. And there's still people fighting it. I'm telling you, there is literally physics. There's only one thing that you can do, and that is you have to make these young people, you have to max out their intellectual capacity so that they can go do fucking phenomenal things. And what he said about blacks, dude, blacks should culturally be like, never again. We will never be a slave again. Oh my, that gave me the chills. Dude, I would march. Fuck that. Never again. Let's go. I'm on team never fucking again for blacks, Holocaust. I fucking love it. Love that energy. Now the question is, how do you actually make that come true? And by the way, he's right. Supporting black businesses, cool. Love it. If somebody as an individual is like, I only buy from black businesses. Okay, cool. Do your thing. I've got no beef with that. What I want to see is kids get educated regardless of class. Get educated. The world works a certain way. And if you get good at that game, you can fucking win. If we do that, then the cycle actually breaks. But if you're constantly trying to do this top-down thing for people who've already been fucked by the system, it doesn't work. Like I mean that as a literal thing. Like it doesn't work. And given that it will never yield outcomes, it feels emotionally correct, but it doesn't yield the outcomes, you've got a problem.
It's interesting, right? Because like, if I were able to pull up a policy that disproportionately impacted black people, and it caused $300,000 to $400,000 of wealth being released from there, like not being available for them to grab. Would you say that's a corrupt policy, bad policy? We should immediately erase that, move it away, right?
If the outcome is based on the policy, yes.
Yeah, like I'm talking about redlining. So for those that don't know, after people came back from World War II, the GI Bill, a white person gets a free house anywhere in America. Black people, you can get it in these 6 districts. That's if you applied for it. 50% of the black soldiers that went to war didn't even get approval for a GI Bill that they told they were going to get beforehand. So there has been things that has been happening systemically like this for decades. I could go back to all black town who said, you know what, America, y'all did y'all thing. Y'all told us to do our own. We're going to build our own shit, ground up and do it. And then that town got burnt, right?
But do you think that there are still laws in the books right now today that are designed to hold black people back?
But okay, let's just think about it from like a kid perspective, right?
But really fast, give me the yes or no on that one.
Because you're looking at the second order consequence, but you're not looking at the first one, and that's why I'm kind of.
I'm trying to map you because I think what you're trying to make a case for is the reason people are against reparations for black people is because they think this was something that happened a long time ago. But the reality is, this is like right after World War II, we still had anti-black laws, and so if you're saying, what I'm trying to figure out is, are you saying that those ended in the civil rights movement in the 60s? Or are you saying right now today, there are still laws?
How they changed it in the 60s is that it's the same boilerplate that they put on everything. You can't discriminate based on race, culture, creed, sex, da-da-da-da-da.
Yep.
So a secret thing that the banks did was you can discriminate based on zip code. So if you are from this zip code, I'm sorry, you don't apply for this loan. But if you're from this zip code.
But is that still true?
Yes. Access to capitalism.
So right now you're saying there really are, because what ends up happening is from redlining in a whole history of horrific shit, Black people have ended up in these neighborhoods. Banks don't loan against those neighborhoods. And this is exactly the way that we're still keeping them.
It's
down.
happening right now. So then now with the Chicago thing, am I lining up passing out money to Black people? No, I don't think that's the right answer. But a business grant that's applicable to these sect of people, if they have the paperwork, if they go through the process, if they have to take a class.
What if you did it by the zip codes? So we say, hey, these red line zip codes, they're now special business districts or whatever.
Love that too. No problem.
Then I'm there. I'm just saying, do it as a policy that isn't race-based. So it's like, if we fuck these neighborhoods, unfuck those neighborhoods. And now it's like, oh, you happen to be Black in those neighborhoods for the reasons that you just laid out. Great. But this is a policy about that neighborhood.
I give it to that.
So then shit, that was easy. So 1,000%. Like doing special business zones, finding ways to make it hell yeah.
But that's where I'm saying is that, like, policy based, you're not going to find any policy in America that says don't do this for Black people, don't do this for Mexicans.
And thank God.
Yes. But
there's still other ways.
How they're getting around it is the redlining zip code thing like that. So
listen,
that's why this doesn't give me that shock. That's all I'm saying.
Here's what I will say. There is, I think it's the, I forget the exact region, but there is a region of African Americans in America that crush.
PG County, Maryland. It's the most, PG County, there's one in Atlanta. I don't know what it's called in Atlanta.
But they're from a specific, like West Indies or something.
Oh, like a sect of Black people that live in America. West Indian immigrants, Nigerian immigrants.
Something like that. Yeah. So that tells me that you can come into whatever level of corruption we have in this country. That isn't the problem. If it was, they would all get trapped.
But there's a difference though, because they're entering into the system.
Why the fuck does that matter?
Because I can pick where I live.
You think they came with money?
It does not. It's
you
not
can always
about
pick where you live
if
you can afford it.
If you can afford it. Now, if
but why can they afford it as immigrants? You're saying they come in with money?
To move into a different country, you have a different level of nimble and flexibility that somebody is rooted in might not have.
That's emotional. That's not literal.
I'll give that. I'm not conceding that. But the point is, if my parents lived in Wisconsin, my granddad lived, like, there's a whole line of people that lived in this place. Yes. They can share that wealth. They can pass on that wealth. This house that was $80,000 in the 70s is now worth $600,000. So if somebody's going to school, I could take a home equity loan, educate my kid, get them through, and I can do everything to get them financially to where they need to be. Take a step back. If I am in a red line neighborhood, my income isn't going up, I don't have that same access to wealth. I don't have that same equity. So their opportunities are limited just on paper. They have to now do these other things where their white counterpart does not. And that's the part that I want to make sure I just highlight. That's not my experience.
I wish that
my parents are immigrants. That's not my experience. But I can't act like that's not a reality for people.
I wish that this text had come from a Black person. It did not. But it came from a Mexican in LA who would have a lot of the same beefs. And I want to read you what he wrote.
Yes, people can get out the hood, Inner Beast. I'm not saying you're stuck in the hood. That's not my argument.
Then what is your argument? Because if you know people can get out of the hood, then why isn't all of our energy about teaching them the things that they need to do to get out of the fucking hood?
To the kids, right? But then you're trying
because
you're on one side, you're saying we need to educate the next generation. This generation is cooked.
Yep.
Okay, so if this generation is cooked, they're not the one. They're the ones that would be doing the moving and all the other stuff.
No, the kids will do the moving whenever the fuck they want. Here, let me give you my pitch. Dear adults, it is very simple to know what to do because the world works on a physics cause and effect basis. You need to figure out what is the thing that you want to do that's going to make money. Get so good at that people can't stop you from doing it. It's going to require a tremendous amount of effort on your part. You're going to have to be exceedingly disciplined. You may have to work harder than your white counterparts, and it doesn't fucking matter because if you get so good, they will not be able to stop you. And given that, the question just becomes, do you care enough about something that the world will pay for that you're willing to get that good at it? if you're not willing to do it, no matter how much money Drew or anybody else gives you, you won't win. You will lose. Even if we hand you a direct check, you will blow it because you don't understand money. Yeah. And so what I'm saying is all of that stuff feels good and it won't work. And so I'm saying if you've got immigrants that are coming in from whatever part of Africa or the Caribbean or wherever the fuck they come from, they're working. Cool. They think and act in a way that you aren't thinking and acting. So figure out how they're thinking and acting and think and act in that way. Like for all the people that have beef with the Jews, they fucking control the world. I just go, how? Because I would like to learn how to control things. Maybe I won't do it if I find out that it's evil, but I want to know how it works. And so I'm not going to spend my time railing and crying and freaking out. I'm going to be like, somebody knows a skill that I don't know, and I'm going to fucking get that skill. And so I'm just saying, I find only 2% of adults will listen when you tell that. I won't force everybody to hear the text, but it was roughly, this is a kid from the fucking hood, former gangbanger, all that. He's like, Tom, you made me a millionaire, and you deserve to hear it because you're the one that made me a beast. Because I said to all these hood rats, hey, I will show up at 5 a.m. every fucking day, and I will sit at this table, and I will tell you exactly how to be an entrepreneur. I won't hold anything back. If you want to build a company that competes with me, I'll teach you how to do it. And guess who fucking showed up day after day after day after day when no one else did? This fucking kid. And he just sat there and was like, okay, cool. How do I do this? What about this? What about this? What about this? And this is now, this is like 12 years later, but he's done it. Yeah. And he wanted to tell me he made his first $1 million. He's like, I fucking did it in a legitimate business. He's like, I can't believe this is fucking true. And what did he have to do? He had to get so good at something that people couldn't stop him. There just isn't another way. There's no way around it. This is like, what do you teach your kids? Here's the thing. Your daughter is going to crush. Why? Because you're so smart, Drew. You're so good. You teach me. You teach Lynn. I know you've unlocked Lynn's future. And the thing that I really, really, really want you and anybody else who loves those people is to say, listen, you got hit by a car, but no one can do the physical therapy for you. You have to do it. And if that were the ringing message, because they can win the fucking lawsuit, it's still not going to fix the problem. And so I'm so obsessed with fixing the problem that when I see this stuff, I'm like, first of all, it's creating racists. And I know you and I see this differently. I really, really did not feel like I grew up in a racist world. And now I feel like I'm in a racist world. And I fucking hate it. And I'm just like, I think about race all the fucking time now. And it's really fucking dumb. And it's not going to take us anywhere interesting. I'm starting to get very aware of how often I swear. It's really dumb. I don't like it. I don't want to see us continue down this path. It is not useful at all.
It's interesting to me, right? Because when I hear this mayor talking, I hear him saying, I'm giving an opportunity for those people that want to wake up at 5 a.m. and actually do the work. And what you're hearing is, or what other people in the chat or some might be hearing is, free money for black people, nothing for the whites. And I think there's a difference in those statements. So if somebody has their shit together, has something in order, they might be held down because of their circumstances, blame whoever they need to blame. They're ready to now level up their life. They have a business plan, whatever they go. They take use of this grant. They build a business. They get to move out of their situation. I think that's a success of this policy.
It won't work. Here's what he has to say. Because this is the physics of the human.
So I just laid it out. You still think that won't work? I'm a business owner. I don't have investment. I use this grant. I get investment. I start my company. Now I'm sending the mayor, you made me a millionaire text. That's not.
He's giving you money without you necessarily knowing how to run a business.
I think that's an assumption. And again,
of course it's an assumption.
I think we're assuming things. Again, if it's a blank check for blacks, it's wrong. I'm saying this to every camera. If it's a blank check for
Yep. I'm just saying all policies should be literally blind to the color of the person that's going to utilize it. And the reason for that is multivariate. Number one, it's racist to do anything else. We do not want a race-based society. You're pushing people into camps. If you weren't willing to work with a white guy, this show would be worse. And if I wasn't willing to work with a black guy, no one would know who you are. And so now, because we teamed up, because no one gives a fuck, you now have in your pocket, I could go launch my own show. I'd never really thought about it before. But like, hey, the world takes to me and I know how to do this. What's that?
Zero attention to launch my own show.
Fine. But you have learned things, you must admit, because you've had an opportunity to be on camera. You've been able to run tests, see what people think about you, whether you like it, all of that.
Absolutely.
I've watched you. You accumulate knowledge very fast. And so we've both won. From my perspective, I couldn't fucking care less about this color of your skin. You gave me insights that I was unable to come to on my own. And I was like, say more. And the more selfish I am, the more I engage with you and like draw you in deeper and give you a platform and blah, blah, blah. And hopefully you feel the exact same. So everything should be done at the level of policy, total blindness to color, because that's what works, with a ferocity of caring about how effective somebody is at what they do, for sure. You would not have your job if you were not effective. And I like to think you would have left long ago if you didn't think I can get this guy to do things because he's actually good at the things that I'm good at. So a ferocity for that, and then a culture of excellence. And that's it. And every culture, Asian people, I'm looking at you, almost blanketly, but for sure the Chinese, they just make sure that their kids are head down, fucking study, and they're outworking white people, if we want to keep it about race for a minute. White people, you're fucking falling behind. You're not playing to win anymore. You got fucking lazy. All these internecine battles are fucking stupid as the day is long. You're becoming racist before my very eyes. And so it's like, yeah, none of that works. It's all stupid. Life works on a cause and effect basis. And if you are better at something than somebody else, they can't stop you. They can't stop you. Simple as. And so I'm just saying, hey, everybody, you live in, the worst part isn't that you're a color, it's that you're not the majority in the country. But now let's look at South Africa. They are the majority in the country and they're still fucking it up. And that's because it also matters the beliefs upon which you build everything. Just is what it is. Look at the outcomes. I'm going to do this and I think it will yield that outcome. If it doesn't yield that outcome, your fucking belief was wrong. So change and keep iterating.
Ipso facto. Is that red light new?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Okay.
We got Brutus Lugo for $20. It is costing our country, really quick context, this is supposedly a quote from Trump on Juneteenth. So that's important. It is costing our country billions of dollars to keep all of these businesses closed. The workers don't want it either. Soon we'll end up having a holiday for every working day of the year. Why did he say this?
Because he's a fucking idiot. If he can't understand that is good.
Because everybody keeps calling you a Trump shill. Could we just have that as a close-up? Could we for people saying Tom never criticizes Trump. Did you hear that? We caught one.
I say that shit all the time. That was the dumbest tweet in a very long time. I even just have some political instincts like that. That's dumb. Save it for the fucking 4th of July, or which then it would be equally stupid for a totally different reason. I mean, that's somebody who, that's dumb. He is alienating the black vote. I don't know what the fuck he's thinking. It's dumb. There's no two ways about it. If you really think we're taking too many holidays, fine, but you don't say it on Juneteenth, for the love of God.
Oh shoot, it's 9:01.
It is.
We gotta go.
Boys and girls, thank you so much for this. Dude, I really enjoy these. Whether I should be doing these or not is a totally different question, but I really enjoy it. Thank you for joining us. This is amazing. We will see you again next week. We got another deep dive dropping on Monday, so please stay tuned, check it out, and have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you. Peace.